Welcome, 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 everybody, to another Sunday of When Black Women Gather. And today we're going to do, Linda, when we first started this, it was called When Black Women Chat.
Hmm.
And Linda always calls it When Black Women Chat anyway. So today is Black Women Chat. And those two women are Linda and I. But everybody in this conversation is encouraged, actually required, I said in the email, to be involved because there's so much that's happening. And Linda and I just threw off some topics off the top of our head, which I'm sure we'll go off on tangents and other things because that's what we both do. But everybody is encouraged to be a part of this conversation. So I'm Helen. I am founder of When Black Women Gather. Linda has been super duper duper instrumental since the beginning. And for those folks who don't know you, Linda, tell them a little bit about yourself.
My greatest accomplishment is being the oldest of nine and living in the city of Newark. That's my greatest two accomplishments. Oh yeah, and then my 17 nieces and nephews and 23 grandnieces and nephews and one great grand. So and then I teach at Essex County College. I'm about people knowing what their power is. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I joined with Helen since the beginning. What kind of power do we have? What are we waiting for? And so I teach civics, I teach government. At the end of the day, it's about what our power is, our individual power, because our higher power has given us everything we need. What are you going to do with it?
That's true. So many times, particularly as Black folks, I'll speak for myself, the talents that we have that we just take for granted. Like Linda always thinks, like she thinks I just write stuff off the top of my head in 2 minutes.
She does.
But and people will say, "Well, how have you been able to write?" And it's like I don't even think about it as a, But anyway, we have these talents that we don't use, and if anything, at this time, not only do we need to tap into those talents, but we also need to recognize how can we pull those talents. So, on that case, Linda, on that note, Linda, you mentioned you mentioned individual. Um, let's talk about how we operate through. Preparedness we talked about and what that looks like as a collective.
Yeah. So basically, what we wanted to do to start is to find out from people individually, like in light of all these challenges that we've been involved in since the beginning of this year, right? And particularly now, because things, if you haven't been paying attention, it's getting in front of you, like, down to your block maybe. And so, what are we doing in terms from a collective, from a community point of view? And be mindful. We don't have to start from scratch. We already have a history that has provided us with blueprint of what we should be doing. And it comes down to we cannot be it's not about the individual, it's about we. And I know, and Helen talked about, the influence, impact of capitalism. Capitalism is about I. It's not about we. And our foundation of our culture is about we. And just real quick, I'll tell you, as a sister, I can't think of her name. She's a Black anthropologist. She's done a lot of work on us for 250,000 years. She said that basically, and she's a forensic anthropologist, so she can prove this with the remains of people that for all the time we existed until we came in contact with another culture, it was a mindset of we. That was our normal. We. How are we going to navigate the water? How are we going to navigate and get the food? It wasn't about I. That's capitalist thinking that we've taken
Yeah.
on. So, one thing she does, she looks at the remains and she said there was virtually no stress in our culture until we came in contact with another culture.
But you figure, when we talk about it takes a village, I mean, everybody has kind of uh, commandeered that phrase, but it comes from, our origins. We were a part of a village and we operated as a family, as a unit, as a community. And now that we've taken on capital, I remember you and I talking one time, we were talking about the 1929 stock market crash when people were jumping out the windows. And, Black people, we weren't into the capitalist system, so we weren't jumping out the windows. So the question becomes now that we have become a part of the capitalistic system, will we? What's your thoughts on that, Linda? Do you think that we'll be jumping out the window? Or do you
Um, you
think that we
know,
will find an internal resilience?
I had that conversation with a young man earlier today in terms of us finding resilience. A lot of us have abandoned those things have worked for us. I mean, if you think about it and how chattel slaves, there were many of them, and I vaguely remember Franklin Roosevelt, one of the things he did to put artists back to work after the crash of 29, what he did is he had the artists go out and talk to people who were former chattel slaves. And these people were like 80, 90, 100 years old, 110 years old. You can't navigate the stress that they were under every day, all day, not knowing if they're going to be raped or beaten or whatever. You can't navigate that and live to be 85, 90, 95, 100 unless you have some cultural, I hate to use the word guardrails, hopefully I'm using it correctly, that will allow you to navigate and negotiate. And if we have abandoned those, we better get them back really quickly. And I think that I'm not into good and bad. I left that a long time ago. It's about what flows from the circumstances. And the circumstances now, if we don't if we're not willing to make those sacrifices regarding material things, right? Particularly material things, because we ain't always have it like this. If we're not willing to make those sacrifices, my position is we might as well just go to Trump and say, do whatever you want. So we got to decide similar. Well, they didn't, I think that was just their culture, but I think about people who loved us, didn't know us. I'm talking about loved us for generations to come, would never know us, were willing to put their labor and their lives on the line for people they would never know. Love people they never know, but were willing to do and open up the doors of opportunity that all of us are taking advantage of. And all the checks and investments and property you have came because of what they did. You may have prepared, like I may have prepared the bar for the bar association, took the classes, but I didn't open the door.
Mhm.
They did.
I think one of the things that we've dropped the ball on and as a community is that we stop celebrating ourselves and our successes. And I don't think we've done a good job, I'll say even with my generation, of making sure that that every generation knew that you stood on the shoulders of the previous generation. And I think we were so vested in making sure that our kids had a better life, which what did that mean? More material things. And as you said a little bit or alluded to it earlier, we abandoned some things that we just should not have. There were things that were the glue of our community that we kind of let go. And speaking on community, I don't know if you all saw, I'll put it in, and I just put in the chat. If anybody wants to join in on this conversation, please just raise your hand. Linda or I can enter you into the conversation. Um, but what was I going to say? Oh, we talked about earlier. What kinds of things are people doing in the community? Because we talk about a collective and a village. Um, I've seen where Jamal Bryant this Sunday asked people to instead of giving. Now this is big. Instead of giving monetary donations in the plate, don't tithe with money, tithe with food. Um, More churches can be doing that. What else is going on out
I,
there?
I would just add also one of the things in your community is if you're not doing it, to think about collaborations because everybody, your church may be doing something, but in terms of collaboration, getting schedules so that people not all over the place, like, Newark has 5 wards. So if all the churches in the central ward collaborate in terms of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, who's going to do what? And then the east ward or whatever. So collaboration is good. But the other part, and I realized, Helen, as you were talking about, one of the things that we lost, and it has a lot to do with the drugs in our community, that matter of trust, right? After the heroin, I know after the heroin came in and laid the crack, black folks stopped trusting each other. We used to go to each other's house and you don't even know who's in your house, but you can trust. It was like a given. And so how do we get that back? Is something that, I hope people can think about. I've always said you got to start out. If you're a white person, you got to prove to me that you could be trusted. As a black, I ain't crazy, but I know that I don't see us as a threat. Because if I see us as a threat, I see myself as a threat.
Yeah, but I think we can't be totally blind because we're seeing there's always been those amongst us who are not what they say, all of our skin folks ain't kin folks. I mean, I think that's not something new. That's always been the case. And I can speak for myself that sometimes this blind faith in our people can be the death of us. So, we have to be careful with that. But given this current situation, when I look at like Linda lives on a cul-de-sac. So if everybody on that cul-de-sac, do you know who's who? Do you know, if there's an emergency that requires, like, I don't know, let's say I lost my job, so now I'm doing a job that requires me to work at night. Who in the neighborhood can make sure that my kids get picked up from school? Can we do, how do we make sure that if there's an older people on our block, how are we making sure that people are being fed? Um, those are the kinds of things. What are the resources that we have in our own little communities? What are the resources that we have that we can pull together and take care of each other? Because we can't lose that, especially now.
I would
Um,
say also to consider bartering, right? It don't have
Youth
to be money.
watering,
What
good
either you
idea.
do, like, if you
Right.
trust me with your children, I'll go pick them up. But we need
Yeah.
to look at bartering. We need to come out of the
Right.
capitalist mindset and think in
Absolutely.
terms of the skill set and the things that we have to offer to each other. I mean, I grew up in the project, 5,000 people, 2 blocks, 8 buildings, and we all knew each other, right? And when somebody wasn't doing a funeral or whatever, or somebody wasn't doing well, you would bring food to them. They can come to your house and eat.
I remember rent
That's
parties,
and rent. Oh yeah, rent parties, right? Rent parties,
rent
right?
parties. And
Right.
Linda, you had talked the other day about mutual aid. I
Mutual
remember
aid is
bringing you in
meant
a second. Talk about
right.
that a little bit, Linda, and make
Mutual
sure everybody knows what that is.
Mutual benefit societies. If you know about North Carolina Mutual Benefit Insurance Company, that was the only insurance company would sell to black people because nobody else was going to do it. But that came out of the mutual benefit, looking out for each other, which really came from after chattel slavery, how we looked out for each other. That was part of our culture, looking out for each other, the we and not the me. And so one of the things I told Helen is that during Hurricane Sandy, I think I'm listening to little white kids, young white children talking about mutual aid, and I'm not hearing any black people do it. I'm hearing white people who've taken this on. As a matter of fact, during Sandy, there was the white kids who were in Occupy Wall Street. With Bloomberg was a billionaire, but he can't get food to people in senior buildings. So the young white people were able to get food and water up to seniors in some black communities. So mutual benefit is our ancestry, the really thing. And the other thing I will tell you real quick is that the Mormons, however you feel about the Mormons, they don't play. They have a culture of looking out for each other. For emergency preparedness, they're prepared to circle the wagon. It's the way they live. So if anything, an emergency, we know that if it's something other than Trump, for example, and you can't sustain your situation by yourself. They know that it has to be community. So they circle wagons. So everybody looks out for everybody. So they're a model for us from stuff that we created. The Mormons are a model for us.
Folks study black folks. We might abandon it,
Right.
but they study black folks. And on that note, I was saying when we were talking earlier, like most black people don't even understand why Dylan Roof chose the church that he chose in South Carolina, but Dylan Roof knew because there was black history associated with that church. So those are they study us and sell us back to us, and then we buy it. Miss
And
Ware, you had a question?
go ahead, Miss Ware.
I don't have a question, but I live in a senior building. Um, we have a group that we look out for each other in this building. If we don't see somebody at a certain time, we go and knock on their door. Like I have done the anchor program here, where I let my abilities do the anchor, where most of the people have gotten their money back from New Jersey. My church, New Hope East Orange, has partnered with other places in East Orange where they had a freezer full of sandwiches. People have donated money to help them. So they have certain days you can come there and at least get breakfast
Yeah.
and other meals, what have you. And it's been, in the neighborhood where we do a lot of community work. But in the senior building, we look out for each other. When it comes to problem, I don't mind calling the police or the fire department if the elevator's stuck or someone's in trouble. And sometimes I have to get after the security guard. He said, well, I can't go in the building. So I call the police department because the buzzer was running. What's the sense of the buzzer being on and you don't go and check to see exactly if the person's on the floor or a problem? And I called the Orange Police Department. He came. He blamed me because I had called the police department. I said, no, I'm not blaming you, but I have to see to make sure my neighbor is fine. And what we do, if I don't see you in 2 days, I'm going to knock on your door. And or if
Yeah.
not, I'm going to pass it on to somebody and say, if something's wrong. If it's food or money, we're here for you. This is 98 High Street in Orange. And
And
we
that's
can keep it
important.
going.
That's
And I'm used to
important.
being like that in my neighborhood. I was a latchkey kid. Both my parents worked, but my mother knew what happened and what we did. And when that door slammed, we knew we was in trouble because she already found out from one of the neighbors who was watching us to let her know that we were doing something we shouldn't have done. But
Yeah.
it needs to be, if you're in a building, you got to help each other. You can't
Even
let
just
nobody help.
Miss Ware,
Yeah.
just knocking on the door to see if somebody's okay if you haven't seen them in 48 hours. That's like fundamental, just looking out for people with, even if you did nothing else, just looking out to see if somebody else, that's great.
We
But
do it.
how about we need to put our pride in check, and if we need help, because Black people, especially Black women, we're thought to be, we're so strong, we're so strong. I don't need, yeah, sometimes we need help and we're not always strong and we don't have to always be strong. So if you're out there and you need help, we need to, find and self-talk because, most of us are givers, not
Mhm.
takers. And so we need to be comfortable with asking for help. Thank you, Miss Ware.
You're
Um,
welcome.
Reverend Wilson, what's up?
Vanessa in the house. Happy birthday,
Hey,
Vanessa.
happy birthday. Yesterday was her birthday.
Yes. Friday.
Friday.
Oh,
Friday was
Friday.
her
Friday was
birthday.
her birthday. So
Halloween.
get
But
all
thank you,
Halloween.
confused.
thank you, thank you, thank you. I had a wonderful birthday. Good to
Yeah.
see you, Linda and Helen. Linda and I go way, way back. To the point we used to share French fries,
Hmm.
which is something people
Linda
don't.
ate French fries. You're kidding me.
And Reuben
Because I
sandwiches.
And
tease
Reuben
her, y'all.
sandwiches.
She eats, what you eat, Linda? Bean sprouts.
Shut up, Helen. I don't.
I said it was a long, long time ago, right?
I'm sure. I can't imagine her eating a French fry. But anyway, go ahead.
But I just wanted to dovetail on some of the things that Linda brought up, especially, we think about mutual aid society, and we have gotten from a point where we don't even support Black businesses in the same way. So in our family, we had multiple insurance policies at some point, but my mother always kept that North Carolina mutual insurance that no
Mhm.
matter what happens, this is what we do because we're from North Carolina. These are the only people who would insure us. And I can remember as a child, I'm giving away my age, the insurance man would come to our house on
Yeah.
Saturdays and we would watch Roadrunner together. We were his little break. But it was very important that we understood the importance of Black businesses and supporting Black businesses. In the same way, it's the importance of supporting Black faith communities and being a part of a conscious Black faith community. As you said, I'm a pastor, and I was delighted that I spoke on your program a couple of weeks ago. And one of the women who live in this community came into our church and started to volunteer. And that's what faith-based communities are about. We're so concerned with members. It's never about the members. It was about the members back then. It was about building community. So I encourage all faith-based communities to make sure you have a food pantry. Make sure you have clothing. We have something called just-in-time services, where if you come in and you can tell us what you need, we'll get it for you. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not about, I can't share my faith if I can't help you, right?
Right.
And it doesn't matter whether you become a member or whether we only see you one time. And that's the theology we operate on in our faith community. So I think those are the things that we need to get back to. And we're big collaborators, so we provide health checkups, health, wellness. We provide referrals. We do, and we're small, a huge, huge facility, but a small group of people who are doing the work. So I encourage us to get back to understanding the importance of the Black church. I'm not knocking anybody else's church. I know people are multicultural, people or whatever they are. But the Black church has a very specific role in history. It's where we learn to read, is where we could get food, is where we could sleep. It has a very specific place in history and our development. And I think at this point, we are being called to that church. Um, So anyway, that's all I have to
Put
say
your,
right now.
be sure and put your church information in the chats. 'Cause
Sure.
she's in Willingboro, New Jersey. So if you're in South Jersey, you can definitely check her out.
Thank you. We need volunteers and we're here to assist. So I will absolutely do that. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you, Miss Lady.
Miss Adams, it's on you, girl.
Hi, thank you. So good to be here with all of you. Thank you so much for inviting me into this community. And I kind of have, I guess, a question. I'm curious to hear from you, Linda and Helen, and also anyone else on the in this community. I strongly believe that the only way we're going to get through is community. And I also, and it's not just through the next 3 point, whatever it is, the countdown, years, because the things that are happening are going to affect us way after this term and the next term and the next term. My question is, I mentor a lot of young Black women, and the feeling is they are so they're like hopeless. And how do we kind of infuse this sense of building community and the power that can be found in building community so that we can move through, because we can. But how do we infuse that spirit in our young people? That definitely, we need them to be a part of that type of spirit. So I would love to hear from anybody that's on this call,
I think
ideas and thoughts.
So
for
what's the
me,
population that you're working with, Miss Adams? Are you working with them academically, employment? What's the
In a couple of ways, I volunteer to mentor at my job. We have a mentor mentee program, and I strictly request young Black and Brown women. And then if any young women in particular come into the company, I immediately reach out to them and unofficially mentor as they try to make their way into and through the company. And then I'm a part of Women's Media Group, and so I serve as a mentor for young women there who are either in college or newly in graduate school. So that's sort of the age range.
I mean, one
um,
thing I think,
go
one
ahead,
of the
Helen.
reasons that I have this space is for just that reason. So, and I'm unapologetic that this is a space for Black women. And I think that we need to create those spaces, seek out those spaces, places that let us show up as who we are, um, not with guarded conversation, and give us, the opportunity to, how am I feeling? What am I going through? What am I experiencing? Um, I know when we first started doing this a long time ago, and Linda won't even remember this, we were on a call together, and Linda had, I don't know what happened. She had a bad day at work. And she
I
said,
did.
before we get, yeah, you did.
Oh, as long as I
Oh,
see young
oh, that
people, I'm
never
usually
happened to
okay.
you. Okay.
Okay.
Something anyway, but Linda had this experience, and she said, before we get started, can I just take a few minutes to share what I don't even remember what the situation was, whatever the situation was. And then I remember her saying either that day or some days after that it was just great to be in a situation where she didn't have, like, it was just we could cold talk, like everybody knew what she was saying. She didn't have to explain herself, she didn't have to go into detail, like we knew. And I think it's real important for us to find those spaces. And when you look at the 300 some thousand Black women who are out of work, um, do they want to go back into the workplace? And have we been, shell shocked, traumatized, like what? And when you think about why why are Black women targeted? Well, let's be clear. In 1996, I sold the t-shirt. I mean, 1996. In 2000, what was the first election? 2016. I sold a t-shirt that said, "We are the 96%." 96% of Black women did not vote for Donald Trump. In 2020, unfortunately, I don't remember the exact number, but it was also in the 90 percentile. And then you had in this last election, 2024, 92%. So if there's any group that he has not been able to penetrate, it's Black women, you know. And if the country had only listened to us, right, we wouldn't be in this mess that we're in. But that's why. That's why the target is on our back. I'm going to see if I can find an
Well,
article somebody just shared with me today.
and
How Black women have always been the target.
let me
So we have
jump
to
in,
find
Helen.
strength within one another. Go ahead,
Okay.
Linda. I'm sorry.
Specifically, there is a book I just heard about yesterday. And he did the research for everything I kind of figure out. I always see, I'm thinking, I'm like, I know this is the case. It's a brother, he's a psychiatrist. The book is called How I Know White People Are Crazy and Other Stories.
Let me find. Go
It's a
ahead.
pointed critique of racism and mental health field. I'm just looking for it real quick because Amazon doesn't say this.
I'll pull it up. Go
Right,
ahead. Keep talking.
pulling from his lived experience and his work as a psychologist, Lester, that's the author, breaks down how whiteness operates as a mindset built on division and control. This book challenges us to name it, undo it, and begin with the real work of healing. It's a call for collective liberation. I would encourage you to give that book to everybody. What he talks about is how we've taken on whiteness, and it's done things like increase the possibility that we're going to commit suicide. That we always had the lowest incidence of suicide. But because we've taken on the whiteness over time, I would go on to say that it was accelerated because of affirmative action. When and it was a report maybe 15 years ago said that Black women who are professionals die sooner than poor Black women because if they leave the neighborhood and they don't have a church and there's no connection to their culture, it wears on them. So I would just suggest that you check that out. If you contact me, I'll actually send you the interview that he did yesterday so you can hear it for yourself. I think that that would be very helpful because he talks about he's out in New York and he deals with Black professionals, and just explains like what you need to do to hold on to your own culture because like I said before, people who are like 85, 90, 95, 100 who didn't know if they're going to be raped or beaten and could live that long, they knew how to navigate and negotiate the challenges. And we forgot that. And that's part of abandoning who we are.
Yeah, I
Hope that
saw
helps.
something that said Black people have, let me see, our ancestors had the resilience, but not the resources, and we have the
The
resources, but
resources,
not the
not the
something like
resilience.
that.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Mm, mm.
yeah. So I don't.
Thank you
There's
so
no
much.
magic
Mm,
answer.
yeah.
I'm
No,
trying to
this
look for the
this has
bit.
been very helpful in itself. Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
also, we meet here every Sunday at 4 p.m. Tell them to come on. But seriously, and it's a space. This is definitely a space for us, and we invite conversations like this. I've invited Black men. I don't know how many are in the audience, but because I think what we have happening now, if ever we needed to come together and have unity in the community, it's
And
now.
and that's
And
probably if, from a spiritual point of view, that may be the role right now. Like you said, this is not going to wait. This is going to impact generations to come. Generations. I'm talking about 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now. What is happening today, what is happening this year is going to have ripple effects. And if we don't get it together now, we're never going to get it together. We're not willing to sacrifice now. It's about sacrifice. You have to decide if you're not willing to do the sacrifice necessary, and it comes in different ways, right? Then, and we're not a give up kind of people.
can't be, cannot be. I'm looking for this other book that you all want to read. It's called We Refuse. Um, Dr. Hare, your hand was up first, but I know Janice has to leave. So do you mind if I take her first, Dr. Hare?
Karen?
Thank you, Miss Adams. Okay, I'm gonna bring Janice. I know you have to leave, so I'm bringing you on. Come
Thank you,
How are
Helen.
you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm like everybody else, very, very concerned about the position in which we are now. I raised my hand and because I was listening to the tenor of the conversation, and I think I don't want to romanticize what we did in the past. What I do want to do is to recognize that I'm thinking about this idea of community and how we come together and all of that, is to recognize that Frederick Douglass said that one of our greatest mistakes was that in the wake of the era of enslavement, when we came through that, then the networking around Underground Railroads and so forth, we let go of, which to some extent is what you're talking about mirroring today. And I mention it not to say what we didn't do, but to say the things that we are pointing to now that we did, like after the 1890s, they too had to come together and find their way. And so the fact that we did not do, we think we didn't do it, but we did do it. We did it believing in a country that does not believe in itself or believe in what it says of itself. And so we thought we could be citizens along with every other taxpayer. We now see something else. I don't think it is time for us to say what we didn't do and to lose confidence in ourselves and our ability to be curative and corrective of the society in which we're in. There is nothing normative about this kind of racism, this kind of pathology, this kind of depravity. And so, not organizing your life to deal with racism, depravity, and this kind of thing is not the wrong thing to do. But right now, I just wanted to remind us that we have had to reinvent things before based on what happened. My go-to is that I realized that the spirituals were codes of escape. And anybody who had that kind of ingenious structure to sing something about one thing, but somehow get the word out that it would mean something else and be able to do that, we do still have those resources. And so I just wanted to say, let's just take a moment to even pat ourselves on the back for making it here to this call today, because the point of all of this is intimidation and silencing. So I'll just leave it there.
I'm going to thank you for putting us in check, reminding us, because we get caught up. We have and we have to recognize that you're right. It didn't just happen magically for them. They had to figure it out. There were pros and cons and things that worked and things that didn't work. People who could be trusted, people who could not be trusted, and we're dealing with the same thing. So thank you, because sometimes we beat ourselves up too hard.
Yes. Thank
Yeah.
you.
What I would add, just to be specific, because a lot of us don't know the history, Miss Adams, and so we don't, it's framed for us. But one of the things when you're talking about, when I'm talking to people, I realize a lot of folks don't know that we managed to develop about over 1,200 self-sufficient Black communities coming out of chattel slavery with nothing. People talk about pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, and we had no straps and we had no boots. But we did it. As a matter of fact, we're the only people who've actually done that without any assistance. So
we are the world's largest, without question, we are the world's largest refugee population in
yep.
the wake of enslavement. Not only did we didn't have a choice about creating community. Those communities were often, derived from the former plantation communities. What they did have was that sense that we take care of your children because we hope somebody is taking care of our children. who we may never see again. And in fact, that's why a lot of people kept their slave names, was so they could find each other and find their families. But those, what community is and what countries are nothing more than communities. They are nothing, communities that gave themselves permission to say, I am great, I'm doing something wonderful, I work with my neighbors. That's all it is. It's an aggregate of these communities. And when we fall into the mythology of someone else's greatness, saying what we don't have, we are losing sight of the fact that it's almost like monkey bread, where you keep putting another part of it together. And
Now, let me say, as we're talking about community, can we talk about the need for community in Jamaica and all of us
yes,
being a part of that community?
yes.
So I just put in the chat if anybody knows any efforts that are being put forth to raise donations or solicit goods or however we can support Jamaica, please drop it in the chat so that we can know how we can support
And even if
our
we
community.
don't, if we don't, I would think that calling the mission, the Jamaican mission to the UN, might get us started if we don't know. Because I'm glad you're mentioning it, and I didn't think about it that way. You know,
Yeah, 'cause that's
okay.
community.
We
But
have a
thank
And
couple.
we
you
were
for this
talking before the
community.
call got started that, they're very vulnerable. I think most people know I spent the summer in Jamaica. And what's very hurtful for me about what I see happening in Jamaica is that I saw a lot of progress there. Things were, highways, things were just looking up. And now we find ourselves, and I say we because we're all one community, we find ourselves in a situation where we're vulnerable to the sharks. And trust me, they're going to be circling.
They,
Yeah.
So
yeah. We got
I hope
Karen
we don't.
here and
Yeah,
Diane
I don't know.
Johnson.
Did she leave?
Oh,
Karen, did she leave?
Karen, you
I
still
don't
there?
Helen, I'll speak up a second. This is
I
Claudette.
didn't leave. I'm still here.
Okay, Karen's here. Go ahead,
know.
Karen.
Okay.
Oh,
So
okay. You ready for
thank
me?
you anyway. Goodbye. Have a good day. Bye
See you,
And
Miss
bye.
happy
Adams.
birthday to your daughters and happy
Thank you.
anniversary. This lady was married to Max Roach, y'all. And she
Oh,
just did
Okay.
a nice article on LinkedIn about her, how many, what was it, 50 years?
We
Tell
were
me again.
married October 30th, 1971.
wow.
That long ago. And yes, the article I wrote, speaking of community, is just a fun thing. So I'll take a quick minute to say it, is that my family has this amazing, what I call quadfecta, which is that October 30th is our wedding anniversary. October 31st is the birth of our granddaughter. November 1st is the birth of my mother. November 2nd is the birth of our twin daughters.
Oh
And
my.
then, and it's a numerologist paradise. And then I'm only saying it because it's a fun thing. And in the midst of all of this, it's a fun
Fun
thing.
things.
And
We
then
do.
my mother is born 11/1, I'm born 1/11, and my daughters are born 11/2. We just do. So something to laugh about
Happy,
today.
happy everything for you and your family.
Thank
And
you
I have
so
to tell y'all
much.
real quick before I let Janice go. I just unpacked my library. I have way too many books. And what do I find but a book by Janice Adams? I was like, I know her.
She did. I
So
told her that we're going to have to work on getting it signed because I do know the author.
absolutely. Absolutely. I do know the author. Thank you. Have a good day. Karen,
Thank
go
you.
ahead. I'm
Have a good
sorry.
day,
Thank you for your
everybody.
patience.
Oh, no
Yeah.
problem. I'm Linda will tell you I'm the queen of multitasking. So I was
Okay.
literally multitasking. I was trying to put the link in that when we were talking about different things that has happened and why the Black woman and the Black race is being targeted by Trump. I popped in a link that a friend sent me that was very, very interesting in the chat.
Okay.
Okay, now I got to remember why I had raised my hand. So I think what I was raising my hand for was we were talking about churches and we were talking about community. And I go to a multiracial, multicultural church. I don't know if any of you remember that bombing in Queens when the first Black, it was a Jamaican family that moved in, and it was the first Jamaican family that moved into Queens and they bombed their house. That is my current pastor, Dr. David Ireland. And we have a couple of locations. We have three locations, one church. So we have a New Jersey care center that houses facilities for mental health. We have Food for Hope, which is a tractor trailer situation that goes to all of the food deserts, 21 food deserts in the state of New Jersey, to deliver food. We just did a big drop off at Brittany Timberlake's office last week. She had posted for people to come out for the perishable food boxes. We typically do a big thing during the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas. But what is happening now is you can go to the food. We have a food pantry that's like a warehouse. So you can go to Rockaway to the food pantry twice a week, go shopping, or you can sign up for food to be dropped off to you with the number of people in your family two Saturdays a month in Montclair. I will drop the link or either just say, that was what I was looking for was the link when you were calling me, Miss Higgins. So what I will do is I will either just send it to Linda and she could kind of like post it to everybody. But in this, you know, time of food insecurity, that was one of the things that the pastor wanted to do. Like our care center in Rockaway, it does employment, it does mental health, it does all of the different things. So it's basically a nonprofit that the church set up under the church's umbrella, but it is a nonprofit. And it is one of the things is for food insecurity in the state of New Jersey. And, they have gotten a couple of grants from the state of New Jersey. But like I said, they do go into the food deserts and try to deliver food. So I know a lot of people with this whole SNAP situation are, looking at, not being able to put food on their table. So I will I'm gonna look for the link and I'm gonna drop it if I can find it. If not, I will send it to Linda.
Yeah, let me
Okay.
add to
Go ahead,
that
Lynn.
because I
Mm-hmm.
wanted people to know what the game plan is. If you're
Mm-hmm.
aware of what happened in North Carolina in a community, a mega community, I'm just using that. If you remember, there was an effort to ostracize FEMA. Not that FEMA is so great, because starting with the Bush administration, they started defunding FEMA, undercutting it so it doesn't exist. But the model of what happened in that community is where they want us to be. No government help whatsoever, even though we pay taxes.
Are you talking about the North Carolina
Right.
situation
Where
last year?
was that? Either the hurricane or tornado, I forgot. But in that community, they were socialized to not accept FEMA and
Yes,
figure
they
out
were.
how they're going to do with or without homes, homeless, whatever. They were standing there with the president and not having anything. And so what I wanted to just tell everybody that we pay taxes for government to support us, right? And so all of these efforts that we're talking about, which we should be doing these things, just it should be just regular, right?
Right.
But the game plan, and I refer you, and Helen knew I was going to talk about 2025. If you were read the 900 pages, none of this would be surprise to you. It will lay out what the game plan is. And the game plan is right now with the shutdown, there are agencies there and they're not coming back. They're not going to be funded at all, or they're going to lose a whole lot of funding, right? So while I think it's important that we do this, but don't lose sight of the fact that we pay taxes, and there are people who complain about this. But I think if you
Linda,
look,
let me ask
go
you,
ahead.
just speculate.
Okay.
How long you think this shutdown's going to be?
In light of how fast they're moving, because they're moving rapidly, I think the shutdown is we're going to get through this week. Um, well, it's I can't say exactly. I wouldn't be surprised if month by month it'll be like chaos. Now, keep in mind that Diane, we're going to get right with you. Keep in mind that he wants to have a rapid force for the beginning of the year. Now, he's already building his own military, right? of people who believe in him, young people. He's already building his own. I'm a student of Nazi Germany, so I've seen this before. He's building his own military of people who are loyal to him. He's looking for a rapid enforcement to begin the year. I hope, and I want to be wrong, I want everybody to call me and say, Linda, you're wrong. I'm hoping that we don't have a financial crash because we do. um, People are going to react, and that rapid force and that military that he's putting together is so when we get where we can't take it anymore, then that's when they're going to respond. So again, if you have not read, I know people like that's 900 pages, but if you want to avoid the stress of the surprises, and remember, he is only a tool for 2025. And the first edition of
Face of a
2025 was done during the Reagan administration 45 years ago. And before that, in the 1970s, there was a paper called the Powell Memorandum in response to Franklin Roosevelt. How dare could he? Social Security and unemployment. And there was another one, Crisis in Democracy, which was commissioned by the wealthy of that time in response to the Black Power movement, the Civil Rights movement, the anti-war movement, the women's movement. So this is things that they've been happening for a while. And you can also add the heroin in our communities, complements of organized crime and FBI working together, and also crack. All of this is the baseline for where we are today. And Democrats, what's his name? Clinton. Crack was coming through Arkansas airport when he was the governor. So the Democrats have done things that have laid the foundation and made it easier for Trump to come in and make the moves that he's making as quickly as he has. So if you haven't, just to avoid having the
question.
stress of surprise, I would read that.
Yeah. I mean, let's get to our questions, and then we need to talk about the Democrats and the election that's coming up. Diane, you have a question, my dear.
Hey, Diane.
It's your turn. Diane, you're muted, babe. Go ahead. Now you're muted again. Diane. Okay, there you go. Diane,
Diane.
can she hear us?
Where is she? Diane, can you hear us? I don't
I
think
don't
she can
think
hear
so.
us.
She can't. She can't hear us. All right, we're going to come back to Diane. Miss Allen, I'm going to bring you on screen. And hey, don't think that you have to have your camera on to speak. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Hold on.
This
I
is
knocked
Annie
me and Linda
Allen.
off. I knocked me and Linda off. I didn't mean to do
That's all
that.
right.
Okay, here we go.
Hey,
Okay.
Annie.
Hey, Linda.
I have a whole bunch of friends who are pastors. I just want you guys to
Yeah,
know.
Oh,
that's right.
is she Pastor Allen?
I
Hi.
am another one. Yes, Vanessa and I went to seminary together.
Oh,
Vanessa
small world.
Wilson, and then I
Small.
have my friend Kaylee with me here today as well. And of course, Linda and I worked at ECC together under Dr. Bamba. So, I was thinking while we were talking, how we define community, because when I think of community, I always think of the neighborhood, and we refer to, helping you because we somebody brought us back to the rent parties and helping paying for funerals and providing mutual aid and care. And we've talked a lot about feeding programs today. And I wanted to say to our benefit and to your credit that this is a community. And community today is not going to look like it did 200 years ago or 100 years ago or 50 years ago, because we now have the power of technology. This is a community. We're not all in the same place. We live in various states even. And the power of networks, because I mean, I feel like Godzilla is coming out of the New York Bay and just trampling through the cities, right? Uh, the severity of fascism and the severity of what's happening in they have the full force of the federal government behind them. We will need
And the
to
Supreme
be,
Court.
yeah, and the Supreme Court. And oh my goodness. But we have the resilience and we have the education and the smarts that we may not have had even in the past. So what I want to say is that we should all be thinking about networks and there's actual software that help create databases that we can use. You know, they've got databases, they've got surveillance, they've got all these tools, right? And we have many of those tools as well that we may not even have had to consider. And I think that things are going to get bad to the point where when people go underground, I don't know about all of you. My parents grew up during the Cold War and during the McCarthy period. And
I was born then.
you were born then. I was born then. But I remember my parents talking about them going underground during the McCarthy period. So I just want to throw out there that we are community. We are already community. We talk about building community. Yes, we all build community where we are. But to continue to reach out and bring more sisters into forums like this one. And there's many, right? I'm sure there's many others. I pray there are many others out there. So, but I'm just so grateful to had come on today, and I hope that we continue to build our community here and the networks that we need. And then the next step would be coalition, but I'll talk about that on another Sunday.
Yeah.
All
And
right, we'll
then
have you back to do that. How about that?
God bless you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Linda, we need
yeah.
to talk. You're in Jersey. There's something
Mhm.
real. First of all, we can talk about the Democrats. I have to say that I am disappointed in the Democrats that we are in this situation. I actually wrote an editorial, but it didn't get published. I need to just publish my own stuff. But um, I wrote an editorial that the Democrats failed us in the fact that they talked a lot about what did they say? We're saving the soul of the country or whatever, but it was just lip service because the actions that followed it didn't suggest that. And why do I say that? Because I feel that when uh, Joe Biden was inaugurated on January 20th, the first order of business on January 21 should have been making sure that Donald Trump was indicted. And instead, we had a lackluster attorney general who, for whatever reason, dragged his feet. And I would say it was even maybe was it 2 years, Linda, before they even brought charges against him. It was just crazy. And then Donald Trump knew all he had to do was, play that clock, play the clock out, and he was able to do that in 2 years. It would have
Hold
been
on.
much more difficult for him to do that in a 4-year period.
Hold
So
on,
I
Helen.
feel like, they talked a good game, but they didn't show up for us like they should.
Okay.
And when they did show up, they should, because I felt like they should have felt the position should have been like we just dodged a bullet after the 2016 election, and no, whether it's Donald Trump or anybody else, it should never happen again. And that should have been their focus when they came in office, and they didn't. They came
Okay.
in
So,
just like it was old school, like we have this decorum or civility, all that stuff's out the window. They're playing by the rules. Why? They're
all right,
taking
let
the
me
high
give you
road.
this.
And I keep saying, look on the high road, look in the rearview mirror. There's nobody up there but you. Nobody's doing that.
Helen,
So, but anyway, go ahead.
when the Supreme Court gave the President of the United States all that power, Biden was in office. That was the power
Kidding.
he had. He could have
Absolutely.
shut this down. He could have shut
Abuse it.
everything down. And that was like October.
Yes.
October. And people were like, well, he's not like, listen,
Use the
he
power.
had all that power that Trump has now. He had in October, November, and he refused to
They
use
won't.
it. And
Yes.
it wasn't that they let us down. We didn't make them accountable. And
I think
granted, it's
people are
hard
just
because I talk to young
frustrated.
people. I talk to young people all the time. They don't have a sense of what their power is as citizens, right? People keep talking about vote, 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 right? And the only time
Yeah.
they say it is right before elections. They don't say anything on a continuous basis for the 4 years. And I know at the college they have the deltas come in and they have voting and stuff right before the election. But what about the whole year before? And if you're talking about presidential elections, New Jersey has more elections than anybody else. There should be ongoing voter registration, voter participation. Now the students who are in Newark in particular, 16-year-olds can vote for the
School
board of
board, right?
education. The problem
Mhm.
is, and this is what I teach. They have the students told me that it's a program that they can look at. It doesn't have any engagement in it, which is like a step up from vote, vote, vote. But I'm not telling you why to vote. I'm not, best I'm going to do is tell you people died for it, but I'm not going to explain. So
Right.
when they took civics out of the urban schools in the beginning of the 1960s, but for those teachers in the segregated South who were teaching 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds civics, when the older children in the spring had to go to work on the plantations as sharecroppers, and the bigger students, and those teachers in the segregated South were making sure that these students, these children who were 5, 6, 7, 8, understood what power they had to what their power was regarding civics. And when they came up from the South, they didn't come with a notebook. They came with that knowledge. That's how we got these black elected officials during the Great Migration. Those were the people who were coming up here who had the information. I will tell you that those 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, they actually would put on they first of all, they understood death and they were willing to die. And they put on their Sunday go to meeting clothes. So if something happened to them, they could be buried without going through all the challenges. So those teachers are the heroines for us, because if it wasn't for them, those young people coming up, those people coming through the Great Migration would not have come with the ability to organize and get a sharp James or a Kim Gibson or any of the other opportunities we have. So,
What's your guy? I can't believe you didn't
So,
mention him. Adam
so
Clayton
what
Powell.
about
oh yeah,
people
Adam
just
Clayton
taking
Powell.
responsibility for themselves?
Who's that?
Right? Nobody, why
That's
don't people just take
Diane.
Oh,
responsibility for
Now,
Diane.
themselves?
Now she
Right?
now,
comes on.
We keep talking
wait a
about
minute, Diane.
politicians.
Hold on. I don't even see you. I hear you, but I don't see you.
Really? It must be something wrong with my laptop.
Yeah,
I'm on.
yeah. We could see you
I
before,
got
but
you.
you
Hold
couldn't
on.
hear us. But go
Right.
ahead.
I couldn't hear
What were you
anything.
saying? We
I'll
need
be
to
right
talk
I'm
back.
about.
saying it's
Here she
not
is.
it's not the Democrats. It's each person's responsibility to get out and vote and learn for themselves. I mean, we keep talking about the Democrats. First of all, they don't have the votes now, period. But we all have the opportunity to go out and vote. Your parents taught you about voting. What is somebody going to tell you to make people get out and vote? They just don't care.
Diane,
Well,
teacher, I can tell you, I teach American Girl, I teach civics. And the things I talk about, they've never heard. The schools are not going to do it. If your parents and grandparents, and we think that they use technology and that will help them because the information's there. Don't be fooled. Most of them don't know how to manage technology. They know how to find
Right,
stuff,
but
but we're assuming things about them that's not true. They don't know the language of government. A lot of older people, the language of government, the language of politics, they don't even know what the words. If you don't know what they're talking about, it's like Farsi.
but
well, who's
wait.
teaching you about entertainment,
Let me push.
about makeup, and everything else?
But
You
wait.
know,
How much
listen,
stuff you want to know?
Let me push back against what Diane said,
Go ahead.
because I think that we did vote. People overwhelmingly voted for. We've always overwhelmingly voted. If it wasn't for the black vote, the Democrats would never win a national election. And just like the Tea Party or whatever took over the Democrats, I mean the Republicans who are now the MAGAs, black people could essentially take over the Democratic Party. And who knows that better than us? The Democrats know it. And who doesn't want that to happen? The Democrats don't want that to happen. But let's be clear. One of the other ways I think that the Democrats dropped the ball was when they had so many young people and new voters and black voters. They had this new base of voters from, the Hope and Change of 2008, and they did nothing to cultivate that base of voters. They did nothing to encourage them to continue to vote or to stay engaged or to be engaged. So, and I look at Cory Booker, I look at these black mayors in these major cities, they do the same thing. They do the exact same thing. They get
they're
in
called
office and
they're
they
called the
don't,
misleadership class. The misleadership
well,
class.
but they don't. So it's not just a matter of getting people out to vote. So when I hear young people say, or just people in general who say, I'm not voting because what difference does it make? there's a reason that they say that, and we have to own that. And we have to, once we get people in office, we need to say we need X, Y, and Z. But talking about politics, and we're in New Jersey, let's talk about this Jersey election and let's talk about this New York election because I'm loving it. Linda,
New
what
Jersey
I don't,
is,
I'm not in Jersey, so
yeah,
what's
New
happening? Jersey is
Jersey
a crucial election.
is not only New Jersey, Newark. If people in Newark don't come out, the Democrats are not
Well,
going to
tell
win.
everybody who's not from New
And
Jersey what's happening in
yeah,
New Jersey and
basically,
who the
Citarelli,
players are.
he's run 3 times. Matter of fact, he almost made it because the last election that he was involved in with Murphy, what happened is that Murphy was way ahead. And then Murphy had about 3 days before, 3 or 4 days before, and Annie, jump in if you remember, he actually had this requirement for adolescents to take the shot for COVID. And a lot of people weren't feeling it for the children. They may have taken the shot for themselves. So the last couple of days of the election, his poll numbers were steep. But for the city of Newark, Murphy would not be in office today. Because, and I'm not saying that the get out the vote was that great, but it was enough to pull him over. But it was really, really close. This
Yeah,
time, I can tell you,
I think Sheila Oliver did that push for him.
right. And this time, Citarelli, he's got signs in Newark, in the South Ward and the West Ward of the city of Newark. He's been here. The Democratic candidate.
He's been to some of those North Black churches. Yeah,
Linda dropped. Linda, did you drop? She'll come back.
Wrong.
So let me just say,
I mean, Citarelli has the money.
Citarelli.
Got MAGA money. That's MAGA money. That ain't his money. That's
right.
MAGA
Well, that's what he's got.
Linda,
That's
are
what
you
he's
back?
got.
So for those who are not in New Jersey, Citarelli is a Trumpster. First of all, let's be clear that New Jersey has
I'm
always
in
been
New Jersey. Yeah, I'm in New Jersey. So
So am I.
so New Jersey has always been a solid blue state. We've had some Republican governors. We've had some.
Racist.
It's
Solid
been
blue,
up
but
up
racist.
south.
Up
New
down.
Jersey is up south.
Yes.
So,
If not for
right.
Newark and certain pockets, it could easily go red.
and Passaic
Not even purple.
County went red, which is unbelievable to me. But yeah, Passaic County went red, and I was just looking at Dover and Garfield, and I forget the third one that the Democratic mayors have thrown their endorsement behind Citarelli. I call him Citarelli.
So we need to be, so that's a crucial election. New Jersey is a crucial election. We cannot, because it's a gubernatorial. You've got Virginia is a crucial election. You've got a Black woman who I could just slap, who is running on the Republican ticket. Let me see, what's her name? Her name is Winsome Earl Sears, and she's running against Abigail Spanberger. But the interesting thing is the Black woman is a Republican and very much a Trumpster, and she's just very offensive. So that's an important election because it's a gubernatorial election.
Helen.
I wasn't going to say that.
I know. I wasn't going to say that either.
We're not claiming her. We're not claiming her.
Like I said, it's
but we need to go there because she's made some really offensive anti-Black American statements. So the question, and this week they had the audacity to challenge the NAACP for not supporting her. Like, come on. Like, she doesn't get our support. Like, we would know, will we support Clarence Thomas if he was running for something? I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, Brittany has her hand up.
So yeah. So did we get Linda back? Aaron, where's your wife? Did we lose her? Where's Linda?
Not back.
She's coming back. She'll let me know when she's back.
Brittany has
go
her
ahead.
hand up.
Yes, Brittany, you had a question?
Hey y'all. Well, I didn't have a question. I was hearing the conversation about New Jersey and I wanted to chime in. I'm a former councilwoman in East Orange, New Jersey. And I am a former, I ran for Congress in a special election in New Jersey for District 10 after Donald Payne passed. And I just completed an assembly race in New Jersey where I almost unsat a white man incumbent. And I'm not from there. I've relocated back to Detroit since my election. and I won't be able to vote in the gubernatorial race. But here's what I will say. I think with the state of New Jersey, we all not underestimate how tired and the apathy of how tired people are of the same old sort of Democratic line politics.
Thank you,
And
Brittany.
hi, Miss Carter. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh,
Thank
she's
you for
back?
jumping
Okay.
in.
Let me find it.
Having been Andy Kim's North Jersey political director when he ran against Tammy Murphy, who was the governor's wife. I don't know why they put her.
That was
But,
absolutely offensive. It
yeah,
was
I was
offensive. Linda, turn on your camera, please. It was
I was
offensive
the
that they even ran her.
yeah, I was the only Black woman on his team, his leadership team at the time, and I very quickly realized that there are a couple things happening in New Jersey. And Miss Oliver would allude to this all the time before she passed, that there is an attack on Black women in this business, elected Black women in the state of New Jersey, although they hide behind progressive Democratic political theater. There is a internal attack on us. And then secondly, there is a level of outrage that the same old established Democrats have created amongst people in New Jersey, because we still had hundreds of thousands of more registered Democrats in the state of New Jersey than Republicans. So these people giving up what has traditionally been our Democratic privilege didn't happen overnight. So this ain't going to be an election of a bunch of MAGA Republicans in New Jersey can't do it by themselves. So them turning out for Jack Ciattarelli the way that they have been has a lot to do with people just being fed up in general. And I think that what this is going to tell us, because to me, all of these things historically have been the makings of revolution. And what this is going to tell us, particularly in pockets of Essex County, I can't speak for no other county. Essex is where I was at. And for places where Black leadership itself has taken the Black vote for granted.
Yes.
We need to have a conversation about that, because I had a hard time understanding why I'm a 34-year-old woman and I have only had a Black mayor my whole life. I have only had a Black congressman my whole life, or a congresswoman. I've only had a Black school board member. I've only had a Black council person. I've only had a Black district leader. And I can go down the list. So me seeing myself represented in leadership is not a new phenomenon for me in my lifetime. And so because of that, my question on the city council, as I was overly qualified to be there and all this stuff, and my question for our Democratic chairman has always been, these people see y'all before they see Mikey, Cheryl, and Ciattarelli and all them. So if we are the messengers, we ought to be carrying our responsibility and excellence. And we've gotten a little bit lax over the years. And we've decided that going to churches and giving out book bags and stuff is the way to be elected, and you don't have to know nothing. And now, everybody rallying around SNAP benefits and what we're going to do with SNAP benefits. But it took for that push for y'all to understand that our Democratic privilege is a little bit fragile. And for those of us who have been challenging you because we love the Democrats so much that we'll challenge you, like my mom always say, you show out in public, I'm going to get you in public. Mm-hmm. So because we have the nerve to fight you in public because we want our Democratic side to be better, you so busy fighting other Black folks that are pushing for excellence that now Democrats all over the state are just rebelling. Because in New Jersey, we don't have the same problem as they do in the South and in the Midwest here in like Detroit. We not fighting with the Republicans did not have real power there. It may get a little Republican governor here and there, but he can only do but so much. And so for us to lose our Democratic privilege like that, that says something about how we have not stewarded well the Democratic privilege that we have had all this time. And that is something that folks need to talk about. And I tell people all the time, if you got a county job, if you a district leader and you nervous or whatever, we knock the county line ballot, they can't fire all y'all at the same time. So somebody gonna have to start speaking up. For Jack Ciattarelli don't have, none of us gonna be hired anyway. We ain't gonna be no jobs anyway.
I would just
That's
add.
all I had to say. That's all I had to say.
Don't go anywhere,
No,
Brittany.
good points.
Hold
Good points.
on. Brittany's just missing one point. The city of this county And this state is the last of the party states. And
Correct.
so while we have the faces of Black people, the party bosses
Machine.
control them. The party
Right.
machine. At one point, Chicago don't have nothing on Essex County.
Nothing at
That's
all.
Right.
correct.
Zero.
The machine is
The
what is
machine.
calling the shots. And it's like a Caribbean or African country where you see all these Black people, but they don't have the power. The machine
Right.
They
is the
don't.
power. The
They
machine
don't.
is the
Listen,
power.
And,
man.
And this goes back before you were born, before your parents. It started, we had a lot of organized crime here under Adonisio. A lot of people have been groomed. They've been groomed for like decades, right? And
Yeah.
so they pick us. They pick us. And so you're right. You should have won. And you and I talked the day before, right?
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
should have won, and you did a good job filling in because my system went down. But I just want to say the only thing that you missed was the language of the misleadership class, which is controlled by the party bosses.
That's correct. And I could tell y'all, do a whole nother Zoom with Miss Linda on all the things that I've been told by party bosses, from I'm too educated, I think I'm better than everybody else, all these
Yep.
things that they tell you. And as a person who was essentially picked, I don't think that they had accounted for, when you invite qualified people to the table, you have to be ready for qualified people to use their qualified head. And that's not necessarily what the establishment in the state of New Jersey wants. So while we boast that we are a party state carrying blue privilege, when you get down to those, peel back the layers of it, and you start following the money, it's even less empowering, because you in the seat, but you have a person who will remind you very quickly that you don't own yourself. That's even more disempowering.
And she
So
also talked about Kim, because that's important.
Yeah.
Her former boss took on the party bosses, got rid of line A. And so what the Democratic machine did is they all of a sudden had a convention. They ain't never had a convention in all my life. They had a convention so they could decide who was going to run. That was a way to keep those who were coming up so they could shut people down, right? We don't have line A, but we have another way to shut people down, and that would be the convention. And as a matter of fact, however you feel about Raz Baraka, the fact is that actually Sherelle probably could only, I hate to say this, but it's the party boss, and they're controlling things. And
I have to ask you guys in New Jersey. I'm a Jersey person, just for people who don't know. I'm just not living there now, but I am a Jersey girl through and through. But who is Mikey Sherelle? Wait, really? That's the best
he's
y'all
a
can
blue
do?
dog.
She's a
She's a blue
pilot with
dog.
4 kids.
She's a blue
pilot
dog
with 4
Democrat.
kids.
She's a blue
But
dog.
here's the problem.
Thank you,
Here
thank
is
you,
the
Diane.
here.
She's a pilot with 4 kids.
She's a
Okay.
blue
all
dog
you heard.
Democrat. She's
But
a
let
blue
me
dog
say
Democrat.
this is the problem with the Democrats, right? Well, probably with both parties, but we're talking about the Democrats. Um, and when I earlier said it was offensive that Murphy tried to run his wife, like really, of all the competent people
Right.
in the state, the best you
Right.
can do is give us your wife, who was never a Democrat to begin with. It's
Mhm.
offensive. Um, and when I lived in Florida, right? So you had, I call him the Satan, DeSantis. The Satan was in office. You knew you wanted him out of office. Who did they run against him? Some old tired Charlie Crist was his name. He used to be a Republican, then he was a Democrat. Like, you're not even trying to win. So look, I do want Miss Sherelle. I do hope she wins. But honestly, I'm like, who is she? Where does she come from? And the whole Garden State, that's the best you could do. Are you really trying to win? And you got this Trumpster, but then let's go to New York, across the bridge, because over there you've got Mamdani,
Clutching their pearls.
who was selected. And where are my New Yorkers? He wins the primary, and the Democratic Party does not want to endorse him. Miss Cox, I know you're here. Are
Just
you here,
real
Miss
quick,
Cox?
Helen, he's not a socialist. He's a Franklin Delano, like Bernie. They're all
But it
Franklin
doesn't
Delano
matter.
Roosevelt.
He won the
Hold on.
He won.
Franklin,
By a
I know,
blowout.
but he's a Franklin Delano Roosevelt Democrat, which is about checking the capitalist system. That's the difference. People want to say
Democratic
socialist because people don't know what socialism, fascism, communism, they don't even know what those things, that again goes back to the language, not knowing what the terminology means. And so people can easily shape how you see the world. He's a Franklin Delano Roosevelt Democrat who's
I'm
about checks
beyond
on
that, Linda.
capitalism.
I am the point that
Okay.
I'm making is I don't care if he was a Republican. I don't care if he was a conservative. If at the end of the day he wins the primary, how does the Democratic Party decide that they're not going to endorse this guy? And Cuomo, who should go home, they put him in. He decides he's not going to. Who's here from New York? Why am I making an argument for New York? I know there's some New Yorkers on this call.
Run as as an independent.
Yeah.
But he shouldn't be running at all. My point is that the Democrats don't know how to show up as a party. They want you to kiss the ring, as Brittany was saying, kiss the ring. We've chosen you. You don't get to pick us. And remember, that was the thing with Barack Obama. People don't remember that, but they didn't want Barack Obama. Barack Obama, no, somebody wanted Barack Obama because he wouldn't have been able to make it. But I remember being at the convention and overhearing these white guys talking. They were only there because it was history. I remember working the campaign in New Jersey, and people didn't have yard signs and things. Usually, those things are in abundance. So again, back to the party not in line with the will of the people, and that's all states.
You
And who's on here from California that can talk about Prop 50?
Oh, can we go back to New York for a minute?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Oh,
please.
Okay, so I am I am a true Democrat. Like, my parents were and everything. I think the issue is that people have not gotten tired of corruption. There was no reason that Adams should have been running. And
Right.
he, to me, threw 3 minority women under the bus. One of them was side by side with him in every conference, and that woman got walked out in handcuffs and an embarrassment to Black women. Not all of us, because all of us, we are not there. But whatever, she was complicit with a lot of stuff, but he threw these women underneath the bus. And I think people need to get tired of this whole political corruption. This whole system is why our young people don't want to be bothered. The other point I want to make is about the educational system. Like, people like you, Professor Carter, you're a rarity. I mean, the whole system in New York, this whole system it has been a lot of nepotism. They don't like Black people being in the Board of Education. I understand it is very political. It's a system that keeps immigrants, minorities down. And if you don't push your children to have an education, my parents came from the South. They had like a minimal education. They pushed me to have an education. And I was so grateful. And I'm still so grateful to them for that. I think we have lost 2 things. I think in touch with our children to educate them at home. Like, my uncle was a cab driver and he read. He was an educated man, but because of the color of his skin, he can only be a cab driver. But he was so influential on me that I read everything. I mean, I work with people who don't read. What has happened with the country is that we've lost touch with education. We've lost touch with our political system. And you know what? Reality TV is running us. It's unfortunate.
Oh my God.
It's unfortunate. And I'm sorry. And they never tell Black women's stories. I don't know nobody who's running across tables throwing bottles. I don't know nobody who on the strip pole.
Right. They
Can I
love to
just
keep
put
Black
in?
women.
Good. I'm done.
Can I just put in about throwing Black women under the bus and the Democratic Party? You recall, was it the mayor of Buffalo won her primary, and Democrats put in the guy who lost against her and ran him
I don't
against her?
remember that. Wow.
You remember that?
No, I don't. But yeah,
It
I
wasn't
can
that
imagine.
long ago. But the
Right.
same
And
thing,
also,
Mondani, he
Right.
won that primary by a landslide. And yet, what is his name? Jeffries just recently got around to reluctantly endorsing him.
Warm. Yeah.
Well, hello.
and if you
Yeah.
remember
And
in
why?
Buffalo,
And why? Why
Hello.
did he do?
Yeah, hello.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's me,
Somebody
Laura.
saying
Okay, good.
hello.
Yeah, it's me, Laura. You know what I want to say about Memdani and with the other the Democrat, like Jeffries and all that. It got to a point where they were saying he was anti-Semitic. Okay.
Yes.
And that, and of course he's Muslim, of course. So they certainly don't want to be labeled. Your Democratic leaders like Jeffries and all that, they don't themselves do not want to be labeled as anti-Semitic. You know how that goes. I think that's what a lot of it was.
Well, let's talk about that because I think and I want to talk. I have this thing about strange bedfellows because one of the things I have said since the beginning of this is that the pushback, what Trump is going to do effectively, I hope, is create the strangers of bedfellows. So I don't know if you all have been following Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah.
Who is a MAGA. Marjorie has actually broken rank with, well, not really. Marjorie, so one of the things that when people get to DC, one of the first things they have to do is go to Israel and kiss the ring, kiss the wall, whatever it is that they do. They also, they all take AIPAC money, and AIPAC money,
yeah.
I forget, what does AIPAC stand for, Linda? It's a Jewish organization, but I forget.
Yeah.
But anyway, they take AIPAC money. And so then they have this conflict of interest because this money, AIPAC's, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying that they are a lobbying, a foreign, a lobbying agency for a foreign country, and they need to register as such. And she has never, and I ain't got nothing for this woman, but I'm telling you, got to give her her props. And I actually wrote a piece on it and haven't published it yet, but I'm going to share with you all just some of the highlights of what she's doing. I don't like her, but I think that one of the things that we have to be open to is that to get through this thing, there are gonna be some strange bedfellows. So you've got her, you've got Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, you've got these people who are like seeing the light. I don't know if they're seeing the light, and I don't even know what their motive is. So we can get in bed with them. But I told Linda, don't get comfortable. Don't pull the sheets up. Don't close your eyes. Don't cuddle up. Be ready to jump out on cue.
Yeah, she's going to be on The View. She's going to be on The View on Tuesday.
But here's the deal. This is a woman who, wait a minute, let me finish. This is a woman who has not shared our interest at all.
Right.
But what she has done, she has never taken AIPAC money. She has never gone to Israel because she feels that why should she go to Israel? She's representing the American people. And I love that you have these people all over Capitol Hill or what have you who are challenging these politicians on what are you doing? Whose interests are you upholding? So Marjorie Greene has never been to Israel, never taken AIPAC money, doesn't just like Mandani, and that's why they're mad at Mandani because he was like, "Why would I go to Israel? I'm representing New Yorkers." So he has not fallen into that, and then with him being Muslim. That's another reason that they're, talking all this smack about him. But JFK also said that AIPAC should register as a foreign lobbying group. She objects. So her thing has always been America first, which is what Donald Trump ran on, and people are finding out that that's not so. She objects to billions being given to Israel, more recently to Argentina. We just gave lots of money to Argentina. Americans are hurting. She says, no, take care of her people first. She stands with women who were victimized by the Epstein pedophile ring. And she is adamant that the file should be released no matter who they implicate. And remember, y'all, Charlie Kirk said the same thing. She stands with the Democrats and is refusing to pass a budget that eliminates or makes even more unaffordable health care for Americans. So I'm just saying all that to say that she is definitely breaking rank ideologically on some of those issues with the Republican Party. Now, the problem with her is she does think Americans first, but those Americans are white people. It's not us. It's not us. So we can recognize that we might be able to work together on some issues, but on other issues, at some point, you're going to, things will go back to normal. But I'm just saying, strangers and bedfellows will get us through this as well. Who was that was just trying to jump in?
No, I was saying there was a noise.
Oh, yeah. It's a tapping noise.
Oh, yeah, right.
Like
it is?
Yeah, like a woodpecker.
I can't hear it. Did everybody hear that?
I
can't hear it. Okay.
Yeah,
so anyway,
it sounds like a 3D printer.
I'm sorry, Judy, what'd you say?
That sounded like a 3D printer or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it did.
it did.
Somebody's probably not on mute, and I didn't hear it. But anyway, those are things that we need to think about. Who when we talk about how we're going to get through this, I think that we're going to recognize that there might be coalitions with people that we otherwise would not, you know, involve ourselves with, and we have to be open to that. But keeping in mind that these people are not to be trusted.
And I would add
That
another
they're
dimension, because the Democrats have this person has single-handedly created regulations to protect the American public, of which we still have. I've been watching him since I was in the sixth grade, and all the work he's done on. And he was a we person. He still is a we person. He's 92 years old. But what has happened is that the Democrats ostracized him, and so a lot of young people don't even know that Ralph Nader exists. He has a book
oh,
out. He has a
like,
book
where's he
out
going?
that he
Okay.
didn't write for Trump. The book is called
Mhm.
Civic Self-Respect. And he did not write this regarding Trump. It came out this year, but he didn't write it that way. But it's the only thing I've ever seen with a blueprint that could neutralize 2025 and Trump. And basically, he gives examples, but he does the categories in terms of what our power is as citizens, as workers, as consumers and shoppers, as taxpayers, as voters, as parents, as veterans, and philanthropists for those who have that kind of money. But I would encourage everybody, it's a quick read. But if you want to know, quickly what you can do, he has all these examples over the years of people who, just like you and me, but they thought we and amazing things. And he actually, who's Lebanese, I don't think a lot of people know he was Lebanese.
Right. Yeah.
His father came here from Lebanon and said, I didn't come here to do anything but be a citizen. And Ralph Nader learned from his father. His father owned a bar. And so the people in the community, come to the community, just hang around the bar. And from what he picked up, that led him on his path to protect the American public. It wasn't about, there were people who joined afterwards, like people coming out of college, out of law school, late was it Nader's Raiders. But he started this by himself. So, he's to me, excellent example of somebody who saw the we, was willing to do the work and make the sacrifices. Believe me, up until recently, he was living in the same apartment he lived in when he finished law school at Harvard and wearing some of the same clothes he'd been wearing because that wasn't important to him. What was important was the protection of the American public. And so what the Democrats did is to ostracize him because he did run 3 times. Instead of taking what he had in his platform and including it, right? They said don't pay attention to him. So a lot of young people don't even know exists. So I've been giving this book to a lot of people who want to know what their power is, and I would encourage everybody as citizens. It's the and I read a lot, and this is the only thing. I'm not saying there's not something else out there, but it's not out there. It's the only thing I've ever seen that could neutralize Trump and 2025. I mean, and again, it's a blueprint that we could use. I'm just saying, I read it and I've been doing stuff. I was protesting Vietnam at 12. So I'm just saying, I was impressed. And there's no other blueprint. If somebody else has another blueprint, put it out there. But it's the only thing I'm seeing. So when Helen was asking the question, how long does this last? It's not a question how long they last. It's about what we do. And he provides a blueprint that wasn't even written for this time. It was written just to get people to recognize their civic power.
I put it in the chats, and I'm sure you all know that Ralph Nader got a. Let me just say that I took that position with Bernie Sanders, right? I lived in New York. I voted for him during the primary against Hillary Clinton because I really believed in change. And I'm like, you're not going to get change if you don't vote for change. I didn't think he had a chance of hell of winning. I did. But let me tell you, one of my regrets is not supporting Bernie in a real way because status quo is not working for us. And that's why I look at, then that's the I always go back to Linda. I know you remember Ross Perot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who could forget Ross Perot? Those of us who are old enough. I didn't even know who Ross Perot was. It didn't matter. But guess what? He was a breath of fresh air. He was something different than what we are. He was a difference from status quo. And he had the heart of the nation until he introduced his running mate, which was that crazy. Remember the general guy? He was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and that blew his candidacy. But the point that I'm making is that for a very long time, Americans have been dissatisfied with the system that we have, the political system that we have. And neither party has been listening to their base. And just as the MAGAs have consumed I said the Republican Party has been consumed by the beast that they fed. They're done. There is no more Republican Party. But they're no more guilty of not listening to their base, because their base were the Yahoos. I used to call them the bow ties and the hee-haws. That's what I think. Yeah, the bow ties and the hee-haws, and the bow ties were the face of the party. Those were the polished
Bushes.
people. But their votes were the hee-haws, and the hee-haws kind of got wind. And when that black guy got in office, they said, "What the hell just happened here?" So, and they never relinquished that power.
The other thing too, that's what happened with Trump and Bernie. People, a lot of people did. I've been watching Trump for 50 years. He's not doing anything he hadn't been doing. He's just doing it to the country. And he has 2020 and he has 2025 behind him to make sure these happen. Like, they have the game plan. Having said that,
Federalist Society.
right. But having said that, when the Democrats undermined Bernie, what happened is people got frustrated because they didn't know Trump as Trump like I know Trump. They knew Trump is like, well, he's not Democrat, he's not Republican, he's different. So even people went for Bernie when Bernie was no longer in there. Their frustration led them to Trump. That's the first time. They don't get a bye the second time, but that's the first time. So the frustration that people have, and I hear it from young people all the time. We just heard it from Miss Brittany, I'm sorry, that they have a certain frustration because of what you said. Like, when Bernie came, he was rolling. I can tell you what happened. I'm looking at MSNBC, right? MSNBC. Bernie won the first two states. MSNBC had him in a space the size of a cell phone. Meanwhile, they had Trump. My whole screen was Trump, except for this little space on the side that said Bernie won. It was all Trump, MSNBC. And I can tell you, they did it because they were making hands over foot money every time Trump came on. Right? They were making money.
Trump. They created
Trump. Exactly.
Yeah. So they can't. And if you remember, the guy at CBS said he might not be good for the country, but he's good for ratings.
Right. The CEO of Viacom. He's making us a whole lot. And when he gave the $1.5 trillion the last time, they said he's our instrument he's going to help us do everything. Because they want going back to Franklin Roosevelt, they want a feudal society. They don't want capitalism anymore. They want a feudal society. And I can tell you, before Barack Obama, I'm sorry, not him, but before the readjustment of 2008, there were about 10 billionaires. I had a student look it up. There are 3,000 billionaires today.
Crazy. That's absolutely
that's
crazy.
The other thing. Hold on, one more thing. There is a book, another book called Banned by Billionaires. If you want to understand what's in the back of all this, the gentleman's name is Chuck Connolly. He does a lot of work with the Economic Institute. When I'm talking about people who do research, not people who get on
what's his name? Chuck what?
Chuck Collins. I think it's Collins. I can't remember him right. But the name of the book is Burned by Billionaires. That's another book I suggest
Burn.
you read.
I put Dan as Burned by
Billionaires, right? And that's another book. I'm into books that I would suggest everybody read so you can see the backdrop to Trump. Not just the ones you see from Facebook and Amazon. There's a whole bunch of other people that we support with our money.
Let me say this real quick because we're running out of time. I want to make sure that I don't know who's on here from California, but if you're in California, you need to vote out there. Prop 50 is coming up. Prop 50 has to do with redistricting. So when Texas said, I guess Trump gave a directive that, change the districts and make sure that we're going to have, basically they're moving out the black vote. So the response from Gavin Newsom in California was, you know what, we'll do the same thing out here. But he took it a step further. Rather than it coming as a directive from the governor, he said, we're going to take it to the people. So if you live in California on Tuesday, make sure that you get out there and vote for Prop 50. He can, so that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to counter, and that's a good thing, right? Because usually the Democrats roll over like lame ducks. So I'm happy that he at least said, no, we're going to counter it. You want to play that game? We'll all play that game. So in California, if you know people in California, make sure that they get out there and do what they need to do. Um,
Helen, I have a quick question.
yeah,
This is Dr. Lisa.
Dr.
I
Lewis,
know.
Hey.
I've got three hands up. Dr. Lisa, Vanessa, go ahead, Dr. Lisa. And Vanessa, I got you.
Mine is just a quick question. I'm just more concerned, not necessarily with turnout, especially in Jersey, but I'm concerned with the fact that, they stole the election and they changed the votes and the machines and all the technology. So
Yeah,
on some level, it's like, yeah, we go out and vote, we do what we need to do, but if they're stealing the election, like
exactly.
what what recourse is there? Like what can we do if you play by the rules and they own the machines or control the satellites and all the stuff, right? So
I think we know that Kamala Harris won the last election. Everybody knows that. Elon Musk has admitted that he did whatever he did, and Donald Trump has even admitted it. So we do know that that's a real issue. Um, and how do we overcome that? I don't know. Um, I would like to think that maybe it's harder to do on the local level, national level. I don't know. I don't have the answer for that. What do we do?
we start, I mean, in terms of responding to that, because right now, the the ACLU, all these people, the courage attorneys who are in the front are saying that they can go on the court and stuff, but we have to back them up. People got to hit the streets. You got to make some sacrifices. At the end of the day, everybody I'm hearing who does analysis, who's done the research, not just on Facebook making comments and opinions, have said that it is in the lap of the American people right now. Period. So, I'm trying to,
What
we
does that
involved
mean?
what we
And
can
and
do.
that's
Mine says
interesting because
I'm teaching the students
but
so they understand the language, so it's not Farsi to them. I want them to know what their power is. When I tell them that if all 30 of you show up to a school board meeting, watch their faces, how nervous they get, and you don't even have to say anything because they're
well,
not
that's good
accustomed
on the
to it.
local level. But what
Right.
about like the King's Day protest? Black people are just like, I'm not going. I'm not going. Anybody on this call? Who on this call, if just say out loud, yes. Did you go to the King's Day protest in your neighborhood? Anybody?
Nope.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, there's some
No.
yeses.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. Were there black folks there?
Not many.
Yes.
Not many. No brown.
a
Yeah.
sprinkling, a few browns.
Yeah.
No
We had
brown.
thousands
So
of people there for King's Day protest
We're
here in
looking
here
well,
in New
at
York City.
there you are, Miss Cox. I was
Yes.
waiting for you to talk to me about Mr. Mondani.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
But let me ask y'all something. How and Linda and I, let me ask Linda, how did you feel when you saw that the West Wing had been demolished?
I didn't care because that was symbolic of what's going. I mean, I know that we built it. I understand it, but it has no significance for me because there's things that are more important than what he did to that building. But for people who are really, patriots and all of those material things and those buildings mean a lot to them, I could imagine. And from our point of view, yeah, we built this. Matter of fact, I was telling Helen, there's a family, the McKizzies, who were actually built a lot of these things with the bricks that her father, who had started a brick company like 5 decades ago. So from the point of destroying their stuff, he's making very clear he's lawless. He don't care. He doesn't have any respect for any American institutions that everybody's been, running around pledging allegiance to. He don't care about none of that. And they don't care about, because they go to sleep at night and don't have, and not restless or anything. They don't care about what happens to them when they die. They don't care about none of that stuff. All the
Right.
things we care about, they don't give a flying hoot about.
Yeah.
Well, I
Because
have to
I
say,
hear
I
people
was
saying that. I hear people
I
saying that, well, they're going to get theirs and they don't care about none. Nothing is stopping them. And the only thing is going to be us.
anybody else have any feelings on was anybody else particularly moved by the destruction of the West Wing? No?
I have a problem with him putting that kind of emphasis on a bathroom when people don't have any, don't, the SNAP program ends and he had a
Correct.
he had a
Yeah.
program. Oh, they had Oh God, they had that 1920 kind of
A
party on
Gatsby.
Friday
They had a
night.
Gatsby, yeah,
Gatsby
like
party, right?
people.
Yeah.
Right,
That hard.
right. Makes you
Bacon.
think like let them eat cake
Right. And you know
Yeah.
what?
kind of
That's
situation. Build
exactly
in a
what he's saying.
ballroom.
Whoever just
Right,
said that, he's saying let
The
right.
them eat cake
symbolism.
like Marie Antoinette, because I just came back from France. Let them eat cake. And what did the
Yeah.
French do? Because the French don't play it. The French said,
Exactly.
oh, we're going to you
Exactly.
want us to eat cake? Then you're going to the guillotine. We're
Sabotage.
not doing
Right.
that.
So this is that kind of moment. That's the only way I'm affected by the building, the demolition to build a ballroom while we're dealing with the food stamps, the SNAP program.
Yeah.
That
Well,
that
Yeah.
I
Yeah. The
found it very
timing.
strategic.
Yeah. The
I
timing is
found it
terrible.
yeah.
very strategic that he didn't make that announcement. So
Mhm.
you have the No Kings protest one weekend, and that's next week is when he says he's only taking a part of the. First, he promised that he would not touch the East Wing or whatever it
East
was,
Wing, yeah.
and then he said he was only taking a piece of it, and then overnight they had to demolish the whole thing. Like, come on, y'all.
They're
But
building bunkers,
I
Helen.
was affected by it. I wrote a blog on it. I put it in the chats for you guys. I was surprisingly affected by it because I saw it as a larger issue. I saw it as the symbolism of what he was saying is who gonna check me, boo? He gonna do whatever he wants to do. And it was just kind of a smack in your face. But anyway, we got three hands up and probably about 10 more minutes to go. So, and Vanessa's been super, super calm, patient. Go ahead, Vanessa. What's up?
Just wanted to say very quickly, and I was about to put it in the chat because I have to leave. I should have left a little while ago. I understand the frustration about what's going on, but in the state of New Jersey, it is extremely important that people come out and vote. I know you're disappointed. I know you're dismayed. I know you're discouraged, but don't let that keep you at home. This is very critical. Additionally, vote on Tuesday and on Tuesday night, no matter what happens, right? Start to educate and mobilize in your local community. Because if each local community is educating and mobilizing, then like cells, we can grow together. But we must educate and mobilize in community and not on social media. you know, and
Right.
like some things are just family conversations. When we were young, you had some conversations at the kitchen table. It was just for the family. So that's all I need to say. I want everyone to be
Exactly.
blessed, do
Yeah.
well, be safe. I must go. God bless you. Love you, Linda. Love
Once you
you, Helen. Love you, Annie. Yay! And I
Yay!
love all of you. God bless you. Gotta go. Love you much.
All
Love
right.
you,
Thank
Vanessa.
you, darling. Thank you. Thank you. Miss Glenda, your hand has been up for a minute.
Hi,
Glenda?
first, hi, yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Yes. So hello, Professor Carter, how are you?
Hi, Glenda. I'm glad to hear from you. Better call me.
I will. But so two things, I'm in Jersey and I did early voting. I voted last Saturday. I encouraged my son to do the same, but he insists on going on Tuesday. And then the second thing is, I know there's been a lot of book recommendations, and I came on a little late, so I don't know if there was any discussion about the Supreme Court, which is why a lot of we are here, right? So there's a book by actually a friend of mine, Lisa Graves, who was an attorney in the during the Clinton administration, and it's called Without Precedent. And it's how Chief Justice Roberts and his accomplices rewrote the Constitution and dismantled our rights. So I can put that in the chat if
And
anybody's
I'm
interested.
guessing that you're an attorney, Glenda, no?
No, 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 I
No,
studied to
and
get
the
there.
reason I say
Mhm.
that is because I think there's a couple things that we probably need to talk about, and maybe not on this call, but not only, I as a lawyer, I wonder, and I know, like Disha, I know you're on this call. What in the world are they teaching law students? There is no rule of law. If I'm a young law student, Linda, what are they teaching them? There is no rule of law.
She's one of
Um,
my, excuse me, she's one of my paralegal students.
oh,
And I got them ready to replace me.
so there is no rule of law. The Supreme Court has acquiesced totally, whatever their rights were. There are no longer three branches of government. All that. So what are we teaching people in law school? I don't even understand. Like if I'm in law school, like what are you teaching me to do? Because right now we're like the Wild Wild West or the Banana Republic or any of that. Like I just don't
Helen,
understand. But anyway,
interesting you say the Wild Wild West because the Wild Wild West, you had to check your guns before you came into town. So we're not even the Wild Wild West. We're way beyond that. So I mean, you're right. I mean, when all those law firms, those top law firms started capitulating, I'm like, well, what does that say to the public?
law firms, major universities, the corporate. Oh my God, the corporate sector is just like roll over. And so anyway, yeah, but that's a whole nother. We're I don't know what's I'm lost. I'm speechless. I'm stuttering. I don't know.
Well, I mean, there's hope. I mean, I'm saying the ACLU because ACLU went through they've done this before. They were in the McCarthy era, right? They go all the way back to what, 1930 something. So they've been around, but they seem to be the only group with courage. But I hear it all the time. The American people, and the problem with the American people, many of them, is that they don't know what their power is. They just don't know. And I'm hoping that this accelerates people recognizing. And like Annie talked about, just the term community, using term community is powerful. Just the term is powerful because people don't even use the term. Annie, did you want to jump in?
I did. I just wanted to respond quickly to Lisa's question about what can be done about voting integrity. And that was you, right, Lisa? I think,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Right here in New Jersey, the Trump Department of Justice is sending in, I don't know if they're agents, lawyers, monitors into Passaic
And
County.
Bergen. Oh, not
Mhm.
not Bergen, Passaic
Sorry?
only. Passaic only. I thought they were sending to Bergen County.
No, Passaic.
Only
And
Passaic County, not
it's
even
one
Essex
county
County.
Yeah, the
and four and
Republicans
four
requested it. The
and
Republicans in
four
Passaic
and four
requested it.
counties in California.
And
So
right, four counties, four in California, none in Virginia, and only Passaic County in New Jersey. And the city of Passaic is almost 100% Latino.
That's right.
Except for a small Orthodox Jewish community. And we all know who's in Patterson.
Yes.
It's us and Little Palestine. And the Palestinian community, I know because I have lunch there every Saturday with a friend of mine. The Palestinian community is organized. They vote. They are well established. And these federal agents are coming in. They're not going up to North Passaic County, up to West Milford in the red part. They're going to be right there in Patterson and Passaic. So you want to know something to do? A bunch of us from Rutherford, I'm going to vote first here in Rutherford. We're going across the river. We're going to Patterson. We're going to the
precinct
county
watch.
clerk's office. Somebody got to watch. Somebody got to observe the observers.
That's right.
And just our bodies
Yeah,
being present.
that's
If
true.
we're out, even if we're 100 feet away from a polling place, just to let somebody know it's safe to go in. Got your little, your little sticker on. Go in and vote. Go in and vote. Because the other part of that is intimidation.
I was going to say, does DOJ mean that ICE will be there as well?
I'm sure they will be.
They will.
I'm sure they will be. I've
If they're
been
not,
in the
it'll be
hall every Sunday.
surprising. Right.
I'm sure they'll be there to intimidate people from voting, right? So you get other people that I will put on my clergy collar, and that's the only time I wear it. I don't wear it in church. I wear it at demonstrations and in public to stand and put your bodies out there. So if there's any of our sisters from New Jersey, Patterson, the county clerk's office, there's a list. You can get it. It's public information of all the polling places in Passaic and in Patterson. And just to be present, because I think they can just run over us and do whatever they want to do. And if we can stand, and I'm talking to 60-year-old women. Yes, we are standing out there right by the either county clerk's office or polling
Annie,
places.
can you post a list?
If
Somebody
people
else can
are,
post a list.
Okay.
Annie, can you post it? And the other thing, Annie's
I
been
can't
doing this.
unzip the list. I'm
That's
still
okay.
trying to unzip the
But
list.
Annie has been doing this in Newark. She's been like outside of Rutherford, outside of her domain, and going around doing this like with her collar on.
Oh
Not
yeah.
that it always makes a difference, and that's the sad part. It doesn't always make a difference. But she's out there putting her body on the line. You know, she's not quite my
Every
age, but
week.
she's there.
Every week.
So, and
yeah.
people got to be willing to do that.
Right.
I know it's scary, but people got to be willing to do that because that's
But
what
the
people did for
crazy thing
you.
is when you say Passaic County is largely Latino,
The
they may
city.
not be the city, the city, not the county.
No.
They may not be coming out just for fear of harassment anyway by ICE.
But we could have encouraged them to vote early, right?
Right. And
Well,
today is the last
and
day.
by mail. Hopefully the Latino community
Or
had them
vote
vote by mail.
those who are eligible to vote are voting. Yeah. And in Patterson is where the county clerk's office is, and that's where I think they should be if they're true to what they're saying. They're looking at the integrity of the counting system and that sort of thing.
Today was the last day to vote early voting.
Yeah.
And I forgot when when was the mailing date, the last day for them to receive. But yeah, that's a crucial county. And the Republicans actually requested that the DOG come into that area.
Right.
Well, I read something, guys. I actually didn't. So there was some situation where, I don't know, some white guy, young white guy, his mother was a elected official, and I don't know. Anyway, he put something online about finding a box of ballots that had not been counted or what have you. And some black guy who was a MAGA, um, called him up and recorded their conversation and released it. And that was Passaic County. So then maybe a week or so after that, I heard where they were going into. So they almost opened the door to let them come in, gave them that excuse to be able to come into Passaic County. Um, Claudette, you wanted to chime in here? See?
Is she still there?
Sorry, Helen. I had to find my mute button. I just wanted to make a comment. I don't know if it's publicly known that most of Trump's inner circle are moving on to military bases.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So that tells me that they're expecting some backlash from some actions that they're about to take. Christy Noem's on a military base.
Stephen Miller, Christy Noem.
So those
Mark
folks who
Rubio.
are wreaking havoc, they have moved to military bases.
Right. And you remember I said earlier that this rapid response they want that done and trained by the beginning of the year. So they're expecting people to respond, and they're hiding in their bunkers in DC. Or will
Well,
be.
somebody said, and I saw somebody put it in the chat, there's speculation that they tore up the whole East Wing because they're going to build a bunker for Trump underneath the
absolutely.
You know, we keep talking about the midterm elections. Do we think there's even going to be midterm elections?
At best, there'll be the optics of a midterm just to give the world the idea that we still have some semblance of whatever is left. But I agree with you. When I'm hearing people talk about midterm,
I don't think
we got to get through
Linda.
January.
And the reason I'll tell you is the buildup that they have in the Caribbean. They've got about 11 frigates in the Caribbean right now. Very high, intense military presence in an area that they didn't even have present in the Gulf, in the Caribbean. So Trump's pissing off Venezuela, and supposedly the Wagner Group, Russia has sent them into Venezuela as a counter operative against the US. So that's about the only thing that's holding them off at the moment.
Right.
And these boats were attacked shortly after Venezuela signed an agreement to sell oil to China,
China.
and China started building a platform to do the drilling. So this is all orchestrated, and all he needs is to have the quote unquote semblance of a war that wasn't authorized, but because he's the king and in charge of everything. So he's looking, in my opinion, for ways not to hold any elections. I don't think he's even, if he can live that long, and he don't look like he gonna last through the year, because it's coming out from different observations and different perspectives that he's had at least one stroke.
Well,
so whether or not he can survive the next one or get taken out by whatever stressors is around him is questionable. But Judas, JD Vance, my call for him
right.
is Judas.
Mr.
Judas is gonna
Vance.
be deadlier.
Right. Mr. Vance has been
I think
trained
he'll
since
be worse.
no, Mr. Vance has been trained by Peter Thiel, who's one of the South African
South
cabal.
African,
And
apartheid.
he's been trained by Peter Thiel. He's been, mentored since he was in college. So he's ready to step in anytime. And
And
again,
he's
going
gonna
back to
have to show.
what Miss Adams said, we're looking at something that if the earth is still here, I'm sorry, tell me I'm wrong. But assuming everything is whatever, we're looking at 20, 30, 40, 50 years, the impact of this.
I think they're moving with rapid speed because they don't know. First of all, is to keep everybody off kilter. That's one thing. But also, I think they don't know if in the event that their days are numbered, they want to do as much damage as quickly as possible as they can because there are so many things that are probably happening behind the scenes that we are not even aware of. And as, if in fact the Dems get back in or whatever party gets in and tries to clean this up, ugh, they don't even know where to begin. And so it'll be interesting, very interesting.
Somebody else had their hand up, Helen.
I don't know. Did I miss somebody? I always forget the people on the phone. Is anybody on the phone? And we had a few guys here. Did any of you guys want to chime in this women's? And I'm so glad you're here. Let me see if I can call somebody out. They might have left us already. Let me see. I'm scanning through. Gary's here. Who's here?
Gary.
Gary, I saw Gary. Gary, Judy, and I are calling you out. Are you here? Dion is here. Dion should tell us about his trip to Kenya. And he's leaving in 2 days to go to Ghana. And ladies, for those of you who don't know, we're going to Alabama for a Black History trip in December.
Are you flying or are you driving?
Well, everybody's coming from different places, so they'll meet. Yes, Gary, please. I would like for you to speak live to us if you wish. I'm reading a note from Gary. Gary,
Yes,
are you still with us?
Yes. I just want to express my gratitude for being in a space to hearing this. I have nieces and nephews that have no idea what's going on around them. And to know that this gathering, these mothers, because you're mothering, you're nurturing parts of me that I was never exposed to as a child due to childhood traumas and generational traumas. And, there's so many things, and knowledge is the key. And if we don't know ourselves, if we don't see this representation, then we continue to go down these quarters that we are. We're searching for self and social media, doing the most backward things just to get attention. But that's a call for love. That's when I see these things, I stay away from social media. But when I glance or I see my nieces and nephews, they're so engaged. They can't even sit in the same room without talking to each other. They communicate through devices. They're so just detached from community. And to be able to sit here, you just like washed my soul, because I'm reminded of the lessons that were passed on at the footsteps of at the feet of my great grandmother, and how you talked about rent parties and how community. I didn't know I was poor until I ventured outside of my community, because we were so rich in sharing and caring. And I couldn't do something because Mr. Such and Such could whoop me, and the neighbors that may have witnessed it could whoop me. And then by the time I got home and told somebody they whooped me, I got another whooping. but that was community, that was love, and we've lost that. I had and you just never know who's watching you. Today, I have a little 5-year-old nephew who's just sharp, and he just looked today this morning, and he's watched me make my prayers and ablutions, and he asked me what I was doing, and I tell him. So every time he sees me washing my hands, he's like, "Uncle Gary, are you gonna say your prayers? Can I say prayers with you?" So we do. So today his grandmother got him ready for church, and he came downstairs, and he's 5. And he looked up at me and he said, "Uncle Gary, do I look like you?" Aww. And I said, "Huh?" And he said, "Look at me. Look how I'm dressed." And he had his polo button-down shirt on, and he has his in a style. He put his shoes on, kind of way that and I never paid attention that he's looking at me.
Uh-huh.
And so I say that they get a glimpse of who they are, then that's who they become. So my soul is just so overjoyed by just being a brother on the wall, listening to you all. And I just thank you for your love and your service. And thank you. And how is it that there's a space created for young women, young boys, that they can come and bask in this kind of knowingness of themselves, that there's a place for them, however they appear, because that's the other piece. We treat people the way we see them. Mm-hmm. How do we receive these lost souls that are looking for something that's not fulfilled in social media? That they know that they can come however they show up, that they will be loved.
Gary, one of the things is that, just real quick, when I heard the term intergenerational, it kind of blew my mind because I lived intergenerational, and that's what you're doing, living intergenerational. And I have to go back. I've been having all these epiphanies, and this year I remember hearing. I think I was like 9 or 10 years old, and I remember hearing this phrase, "Don't trust anybody over 30." Then I realized now I'm looking at the results of that. It was about disconnect between generations, because what you're talking about, the technology, if you don't have the protections of your culture, right, which comes down from the elders, you don't have any protection. So people get to shape how our young people are thinking. And, fortunately, I'm not afraid of people who look like me. Mm-hmm. And I talk, and then not just the teaching. I've been doing it for 30 years. I didn't even know I was going to be doing this, but I walk up and down Broad Street in Newark, and I hear people. Sometimes some of my students are yelling out the window, and I tell them, "Don't yell out the window. You're gonna make me get hit by a car." Professor Carter, and they're doing that because their friends are there. But we have to make a conscious effort to get rid of to talk to people younger, and not just in terms of our families, right? Because a lot of people, that's safe for them, or in the church. Mm-hmm. But it's not safe to say hi to somebody else outside. You never know what's going on in anybody's. I talk to everybody. Mm-hmm. Everybody, and I have, like, people talk about mentorships. I think all these people have adopted me. I'm being adopted by young people, and they will tell me, they say, "How come other people don't talk to us?"
Right.
But I think some of it, as a result of the drugs, we have a distrust of each other. Mm-hmm. But see, I can't live like that. Right. I just can't. I don't care about that. I know I see people in the store. I see young people all the time. And one of the things I do, and I said this before, I'll mention this real quick because I have to laugh at myself. When I know sneakers are really important to them. So how I approach them crossing the street or whatever, I said, "Those are nice sneakers." And they're all happy because, sneakers are real important. And I said, "No sneakers make you jump high and run fast." They start laughing because they know they don't. Then I used to say, I also still say, I know, those sneakers didn't cost but maybe $3 on a good day, right? And I said, if you're going to wear them, make sure. Now I added, you need to invest in it. If investment's your thing. But I approach people crossing the street, and sometimes I ask them, "Oh, I forgot to tell you." I also tell them, I said, "You think you can beat me to the corner?" Right? I've yet to have a young person take me on, because they're like, "Wait a minute." First they were laughing because, first of all, I think, and I don't know what's in their mind, I'm just telling you what I see from outside their eyes. At first, they're like, "This woman with gray hair, this little lady is talking to me." Mm-hmm. That's shocking in the first place. Mm-hmm. The second, I'm talking about their sneakers, which she paid attention to, things like that. The third is, I just basically said, with those sneakers, you think you could beat me to the corner. And now it's like, what just happened?
Right.
What now at least she's talking to me. She's like, "Do you want to run with me?"
Mhm.
And sometimes I don't have high heels. I don't wear high heels. Most
Mhm.
times I have sneakers on. And it just stuns them. And that's my
Mhm.
way of approaching, whether in a grocery store on the corner of Broad and Market Street.
Mhm.
Just, the sneakers are a lead in, and it's
Yes,
nothing keeping us from talking to them.
that's
We're
right.
looking for them to do it when what we see and how we lived before, they have no idea unless it's in their family. They have no vision. When you talk about community, when I told some, I was interviewed by Rutgers, and this young lady said, I was telling her we didn't have teachers' cars parked in the playgrounds,
Mhm.
right? And then I realized with the crossing guards, and I just told a young man today, I said, with the crossing guards, that was not a job. And
Mhm.
I'm in the fourth grade, and sixth graders could stop a car. They had the little belt on, they could stop a car and let you cross the street.
Mhm.
This young lady told me, she said, I'm trying to imagine Black people living like that.
Mhm.
She was 19 years old. She can't even imagine. So we got to talk to them. We can't
Yes,
wait for them to talk to us. And whatever it takes, we can't be afraid of them, because if we don't, we're not preparing them to take our place. Our whole purpose of living longer is to prepare them to take our places. And
yes,
for the generations to come under the stuff we just talked about today, if we don't prepare them, they won't be here for the
that's right.
generations that come.
That's right.
That's
And
my
I, and I, and
little.
I love that the piece of approaching them. That's where it starts. To just acknowledge them. I see you. There's some connection, and we can't be afraid. I'm not afraid to see a young man sagging and say, "Oh, brother, come here, pull up your pants, man."
Well, actually, I see them with the pants. I don't say anything because we had our style. I just tell them, make sure you got the right underwear on,
Right, but the reason I say that to him
because you're a
because
guy.
there's this thing, and I just and they question, and because it's a different meaning in different settings.
Yeah.
So and but again,
Right. I tell them that
I
too.
don't say it in a condemning way.
Right.
I invite them to what is it? What is the message? But I don't. It's not a judgment,
Right.
but it's like an extension. And I say, you're going to get a job. Like there was a young man actually that was waiting outside of Chick-fil-A. I was there, and he was kind of pacing. He was sagging. I said, "Hey man, are you okay? What's going on?" "Oh, I got this interview," but he was sagging. I said, "Come here, man. Come here. Let me just talk to you." And I was able to have a conversation with him. And he's like, "You know what, OG? Okay." Pulled him up. 2 weeks later, I go in there. Young man's working behind the thing, and he just came over and he's like, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." And just it's nothing. It was passed on to me. I had men on the corner, even the people that were clutching the brown bags. They always had a lesson for me. They had a lesson. They passed it on. He might have been in the throes of misery, but he always, "Come here. What y'all doing over here, boy? Get over here. You don't know nothing." And but they shared, and we don't have that because we're afraid. It's and just get past the fear and just love, man. So I'm just like James, what was that? Coming to America, he said when he found out Eddie Murphy had the money, I feel like breakdancing. No, I just love this arena. It's just so for
Oh,
the soul. Thank
and
you.
also you can use the music. Our music was our superpower
Yes.
until they know so much about us. Our music started changing, and this also, like the social media, has an impact on how they see the world. So introduce them. I do in my class. I actually gave my class a 1933 movie to watch, and the young lady said there was no sex, there were no bombs blasting.
Mm-hmm.
She was so like, are there any more movies like this?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So, on that note, first of all, Gary, thank you for coming, and please come again.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. And like I said, I think, going forward, although this is a space created for Black women, I think we need to have unity amongst ourselves and find strength amongst all, like our brothers have stuff to add to contribute to our conversations as well. So you're welcome anytime. Okay. But Gary and Judy and I are in a weekly group. It's where they talk. It's so since the pandemic, no, since George Floyd, since the murder of George Floyd, this group has been meeting every Thursday night to talk about race. And it's a interracial it's a co-ed group. And Van Gilmer is one of the regulars who comes on, and he is going to be our guest next week. So Gary, you'll be back next week. We're going to have Van Gilmer, who is going to talk about his activism in the 60s. He was a part of the Greensboro sit-ins. And then you all are aware of the current case that we're waiting for a decision in the Supreme Court. Calais versus Louisiana. So my friend Dorothy is one of the feeder cases for that. So Dorothy too. So we'll have Dorothy talking about civil rights activism from 2025 perspective, and Dan talking about it from the 1960s. And also Linda, she said that yes, she would be willing to come on Gloria's show. So
Yeah.
you all can. I'll put you in touch with her. So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. And it's important because we have to stay focused. We have to know, just as Janice was saying before she left, like we cannot lose sight of the fact that what we've done, let's not forget about what we've done. And also, let's not so glorify what our ancestors have done before us that we feel defeated. Like they struggled and found their footing too. So on that note, Linda, what are your parting words? Thank you, Gary.
No, recognize your power. Your higher power has given you everything you need. You just got to exercise it.
For sure, for sure. Anybody else have something they're just dying to say before we sign off here? Did we lose Dion? Dion, are you gone? No, Dion's still here. And I'm calling Dion out because Dion and I took a group to Cuba last year, and he's got Dion. Are you with me, darling?
I'm with you.
And
I'm
he's
with you.
got
I'm
a
sorry.
Okay, that's okay. So Dion is taking folks to Ghana on Tuesday. And Dion, what's the dates for your Kenya trip?
March 21st through the 28th, 2026.
So if you're interested, let me know and I will get you in touch with Dion. And for anybody, male or female at this point, who's interested in going to excuse me, if you're still thinking about or on the fence about the trip to where am I going? Where am I going, Linda? Alabama. Let me know between today and tomorrow, and I'll get you involved in that too. But that's going to be a great trip. Again, going back to our roots and remembering who we were and where we've been and you know, our resilience. So on that note, I just want to say thank you all for coming. Thank you, my good friend Linda. She shows up. Somebody asked me last week, "Where's Linda? Where's the professor? She's never here anymore." I said, "Because she don't love me no more." But no, Linda, I told them that you're just busy doing a lot of stuff, so I appreciate that. So, Judy, did you want to say something? I see your hand is up real quick. What you got,
Yeah,
Judy?
just real quick. So Professor, when you can't make it, can you just still send your book recommendations?
Oh, me? Okay.
Thank you.
I will. It's you asked me, it's Civic Self-Respect, Ralph Nader. And it's a
I put it in there. It's
yeah,
in the
it's a
chat.
quick, easy read.
In the chat. If you're in a state that has an election tomorrow, make sure you get out there and vote. Tanya, what you got real quick, Tanya? Real quick. Tanya Owens, your hand is up.
Oh, well, we're waiting for Tanya. Dr. Lewis, you did that session last week, and that's helpful in terms of people's blood work. You need to mention that, I think, because I think every Black person should know what their baseline is. So, please just mention it or put it in the chat, but people need to know that because we're gonna have a lot of stress, unnecessary.
Yeah, and that's important. That's one thing as we're dealing with all this stuff, do take care of yourself physically, right? Because it's easy to slip into a funk. Easy. I call myself functionally depressed, just so y'all know. I just go through the motions, but we have to be conscious of that and take care of ourselves. And I call Dr. Lisa all the time. She'd be like, "Girl," but yeah.
I did since I knew it was on a Saturday and a lot of people couldn't come, I did set it as a replay so that people could watch it at their own time. So I'll put that link inside. But it basically is just teaching people how to understand the value that's in the basic blood work that they get from from their primary doctor visits, but to use it to be able to understand root cause, like why disease is happening and to address it, and not to have to wait until something becomes a disease to address an imbalance. So, yeah.
And Tanya Owens, Miss
Hi.
Owens.
Go ahead, Tanya.
Yes.
Just a quick question. I was invited to the Zoom by someone, and I wanted to know how would I be able to continue to come to these Zooms?
Well, now that you've come, you're captured. So what happens is when you sign in, you gave me your email address, and I will put you on my email list. So you will get a Sunday notice, and when you can pop in, pop in. Also, for
Thank
Black
you so
women,
much.
yes, thank you, Tanya. You have to let me know how'd you hear about it? Do you remember who told you?
Sharon McLean.
Oh,
Okay.
Sharon.
Yes.
Yeah, Sharon actually does the mediation seminars, workshops. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm a
I'm taking her
certified
course
mediator.
right now.
Yeah. Okay.
So also I put in the chats every Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. We do it's a mindfulness activity. Sometimes it's chair yoga, sometimes it's floor yoga, sometimes it's breathing, but every Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. And it's really a good way I do it at 6 a.m. because it's before people are heading off to work. I do it on Wednesday because it's hump day, so that you know that you can get through the rest of the week. So whereas this email, this link changes every week, which I need to stop doing that. But I do it so I can capture information. But that link is always the same. So just put it in your registry and hop on anytime on Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. and start your day in a positive circle with Black women and just exhale and get through the rest of the week. Okay.
Helen, can I make a
Um,
comment? One quick
yes, go
comment.
ahead.
I
Go ahead.
didn't get to the session last week around the health that you were talking about, Linda. But
Yes.
just in case people aren't aware, LabCorp and Quest allow you to order your own blood work without a doctor's script at a significant discount. Somebody told me that a couple of years ago, and I've actually done it. You
Just
can go
make sure,
on.
just make sure it's comprehensive because I have
They
my
do.
reports back to when I was 25 and some of them not as because and Dr. Lewis could tell you the doctors don't necessarily order stuff that they're not familiar with.
Right. Well, they have the panels, so you can actually select which panels you want, and it's about 50% cheaper than having insurance.
So just so you know, there's a lot of biomarkers that even the standard doctor doesn't order. So you want to always make sure that if you're definitely looking for blood sugar, because everybody should have their blood sugar analyzed, you should have um, your blood glucose, your hemoglobin A1C, but always get your fasting insulin because that's going to tell us what's happening with your blood work, with your blood sugar way before pre-diabetes, right? Way before insulin resistance, right? So those are the kinds of things that I teach to help people understand like what biomarkers they need that a Western doctor is not even going to run, right? But they may allow it. You may just have to add it. So if you're adding it to if you purchase it from LabCorp, you just have to, just have to add. But I standardly run about 60 to 74 biomarkers is the standard, like inflammatory biomarkers, like all kinds of things they're going to help you see disease years and decades before it would show up and it's about prevention as well. So, but we start with whatever blood work you have, because whatever you have, we can find something that you can work on. Yeah.
She asked for the
All
link.
right. And
It's
there's a reminder.
I put it in the
Okay.
it's drlisalewis.com/workshops.
There's a reminder out there to vote on Tuesday. I also want to remind us to check on our peeps in Jamaica, make sure they're okay. Every little bit, and slightest little thing will help. $100 here goes a long way there. So if you can help out, do that. I think Claudette put in the chat some organization. There's a lot of organizations out there.
I would
So
just
just
say make sure you're not being scammed and go
yeah,
with somebody like the Rotary Club or something that's going to get direct to people rather than getting any intermediaries involved if
right.
that's your passion or you care to support.
Yeah, but I think, Linda, I think we covered everything, my dear.
We
Did we?
did.
Helen, I just have one last thing.
Go ahead.
Since we're coming up on the end of time to choose your insurance, for this year, particularly people on Medicare. There are lots of options that are no longer going to be available. So if you're one of those people who's just sort of allow things to roll over, you might want to check yourself this time, and verify. And then for folks who haven't been paying attention, if you're on the ACA or Obamacare, those premiums are obviously going to be going up. So let's, go out there and take a look real quick.
An average of 18%, which is almost 20%.
Yes.
Yeah. We did a program a couple of weeks ago. And if you want the information, just reach out to me. I'll send it to you because I can't grab it right now. But we had Lori Mason on, and she is a Medicare specialist, and she will work with you to help you understand your plan that you're on and make sure that you're on the one that's best. She's an independent broker, so it's not like she's pushing anybody's plan. She's really going to help you find the plan that's best for you. I've used her, and those people who, other people I know who have used her, very pleased with her. So, and everybody's plan from last year is changing no matter what the situation was. So, male, female, whatever, if you want Lori's information, you're 65 and over, let me know and I'll get that. I'll share that with you.
I'm glad you said that, Helen. It is one more thing. I had a pap smear and then I got a bill. And I had read something before and it just didn't hit me that there's some regular routine things that will not be covered by insurance companies anymore. And pap smear, they're talking about doing it every 3 to 4 years. And as a matter of fact, when I called about the bill, the gentleman who answered was very helpful. He said, we're getting so many calls because people are getting the bill for the pap smear when that was routine part of your insurance. So that's something else. And I think I talked to Dr. Lewis about, looking into the fact that a lot of things that were routine checks will no longer be covered by the insurance companies. Matter of fact, I have to call tomorrow to see if they're going to cover my breast exam.
So let me say this. Now I'm not even going to go into it because it's a whole nother topic that it's getting late. Just read the fine print on anything. And before you do any procedure, call your insurance company, make sure it's covered before, because that, no matter what your doctor says you need, your insurance company is dictating what you can have and can't have. So just be mindful of that. So if everybody can unmute, we can do our farewells. That'd be a beautiful thing. Yes, yes. Those of you who Miss Jones, how are you? You're from California. You didn't chime in on the Prop 50 thing. I know that you're voting. And please, folks, make sure you get out there and handle your business on Tuesday. We have to, at this point, whether the elections are rigged or not, it's all that we have. So we got to show up and do our part.
I did early voting.
I'm sorry? Oh,
I
yeah,
did
do
early voting.
Yeah.
Do early voting, for sure. So, I forget what I'm supposed to say. So, thank you all for another Sunday. And thank you all for coming for another Sunday evening, because when Black women gather,
Amazing things happen.
Yes, indeed.
Good night.
Good night.
Good
night.
Be well.
Thank you all for another amazing Sunday. See you next week. You'll enjoy the call next week with Van and Dorothy. So come back and be re-inspired all over again.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, Gary.
Be well. Thank you. Blessings to all. Blessings.
All right. Have a great one, everybody.
You as well.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Hold on.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, John Boy. Did I start? Oh, it's still